was raining the first time I saw the hawthorn. Not the soft, warm kind of rain that makes you want to stand outside and breathe it in. This was the kind that felt heavy, metallic, like the sky was bleeding iron. Every droplet seemed to carry a weight, hitting the cracked sidewalk with a sound like tiny hammers. The building loomed over the street like it had been planted there centuries ago, its dark brick skin slick with water. The windows reflected the streetlights in long, distorted streaks, like tears sliding down a face. The sign above the main entrance read, "The Hawthorne Residences." The gold paint had faded into a dull, greenish tarnish, and the letters looked almost tired. I was carrying one suitcase, just one. My life had been reduced to it after months of running from a divorce that felt more like an eviction from my own reality. The Hawthorne wasn't my first choice. In fact, it wasn't a choice at all. It was the only place that returned my call. The lobby smelled faintly of mildew and something sweet, like rotting fruit. The wallpaper had once been cream-colored, but time had stained it into something closer to nicotine yellow. A single fluorescent bulb hummed overhead, flickering every few seconds, making the room feel like it was breathing. The receptionist was a man in his 60s, thin and pale, with eyes that darted from the hallway to me and back again. His name tag read Arnold, though the letters had been scratched at, as if someone had tried to erase them. "You're the new one?" he asked, his voice carrying the tone of someone who'd been waiting for bad news and had finally received it. "Yes," I said, setting my suitcase down. "Unit 8B. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he pulled out a large, leather-bound book from under the desk. Not a computer, not a file folder, a book. The pages were thick and yellowed, filled with handwritten names and dates. He ran his finger down the page, stopped on my name, then looked up at me like he was considering whether to tell me something. Finally, he slid a brass key across the desk. "North elevator," he said, his tone clipped, "and don't press 19. I laughed a little, assuming it was some strange initiation ritual. "Why? What's on 19? His eyes didn't blink. "There is no 19. He said it with such flat certainty that for a moment I believed him. But I'd seen the panel in the elevator when I came to view the place last week. It did have a 19. The thought made a cold shiver run up my spine. I picked up my suitcase and headed to the north elevator, the key heavy in my hand. The elevator doors were brushed steel, but the surface was warped, as if something had pressed against them from the inside. The call button glowed a deep, unnatural orange, and when I pressed it, the hum of machinery echoed down the shaft in a low, almost groaning sound. When the doors opened, I was hit by a draft of cold air. The elevator interior was lined with polished wood panels, though the varnish had bubbled in places, like it had been burned. The smell inside was faintly coppery, not like blood exactly, but close enough to make my stomach turn. I stepped in, pressed 8, and the doors closed with a sound like metal grinding on bone. As the elevator began to rise, I noticed something odd. There was a faint reflection of me in the brass panel near the buttons, but the lighting made my face look wrong. My smile looked like it didn't belong to me. By the time I reached my floor, the unease had settled deep in my chest. That's when I saw her, Karen. She was standing halfway down the hall, her hands clasped in front of her, wearing a floral nightgown that looked decades out of style. Her hair was neatly pinned up, but her eyes locked onto mine like she'd been waiting for me specifically. "You're new," she said, her voice smooth but carrying a strange undertone, like someone trying to suppress a laugh during a funeral. "Yes," I said cautiously. She took a step toward me, her slippers silent against the faded carpet. "Don't ride the elevator at night," she said, "and never, ever press 19. The hallway felt colder. I swallowed. Why not? She leaned in so close, I could smell the faint scent of lavender and something faintly metallic. Her whisper was soft, but sharp enough to cut through me. Because the doors don't always open to the same place twice. Then she turned and walked away without another word, disappearing into her apartment, leaving me in the silent hallway with the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't know it then, but that was the first warning, and I didn't listen. The first 2 nights in the Hawthorne passed without incident. No strange noises, no flickering lights, no ominous knocks at the door at 3 a.m. Just the steady hum of the building's ancient pipes and the occasional creak of footsteps from the apartment above. On the 3rd night, it rained again. The kind of rain that seemed to pour directly into your bones. It was nearly midnight when I decided to head down to the lobby to check my mailbox, mostly out of boredom, partly because the isolation was starting to gnaw at me. When I stepped into the hallway, I caught movement at the far end. Karen. She was standing there again, in the exact same floral nightgown I'd seen before, her posture unnervingly rigid. The hallway's single overhead bulb buzzed and dimmed, making her face disappear into shadow. "Late night?" I asked, my voice echoing faintly. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes slid toward the north elevator. I glanced in the same direction, and for the first time, noticed that the metal doors looked different at night. They weren't just warped, there were faint handprints pressed into them, like something had clawed or pushed against the steel from inside. Karen finally spoke, her voice low. "They'll be hungry tonight." Before I could ask what she meant, she stepped backward into the darkness, her bare feet making no sound, and vanished around the corner. I should have listened to that part of my brain that was screaming at me to go back inside my apartment, but I didn't. I pressed the call button. The elevator groaned to life, the sound deep and strained, as though dragging something heavy up from a great depth. When the door slid open, the inside looked the same as before, except for one detail. The brass button for lobby was already glowing, even though I hadn't touched it. I stepped in. The doors closed with a slow, almost reluctant movement, and the cab jolted, not downward, but upward. I stared at the glowing floor display. It didn't go 8, 7, 6 like it should have. Instead, the numbers jumped erratically. 12, 4, 15, 3, 18. Then the lights in the cab dimmed. The elevator stopped. The floor indicator read 19. I stood frozen. My thumb hovered over the door open button, but my instincts told me not to touch it. The air in the elevator had grown noticeably colder, my breath faintly visible in the dim light. Then, with a slow hiss, the doors slid apart. It wasn't a floor. Beyond the threshold was a pitch-black corridor, impossibly long, with faint whispering coming from somewhere deep within it. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting in the shadows. And then, a figure stepped forward. At first, it looked human, tall, thin, with its head tilted slightly to one side. But as it approached, the features didn't align right. The face was smooth, too smooth, like clay before it's carved. Its arms hung at its sides, fingers twitching like they remembering a shape they once had. It stopped just inches from the elevator doors. The whispers grew louder, almost frantic. And then a figure stepped forward. At first, it looked human, tall, thin, with its head tilted slightly to one side. But as it approached, the features didn't align right. The face was smooth, too smooth, like clay before it's carved. Its arms hung at its sides, fingers twitching like they were remembering a shape they once had. It stopped just inches from the elevator doors. The whispers grew louder, almost frantic. And then a figure stepped forward. At first, it looked human, tall, thin, with its head tilted slightly to one side. But as it approached, the features didn't align right. The face was smooth, too smooth, like clay before it's carved. Its arms hung at its sides, fingers twitching like they were remembering a shape they once had. It stopped just inches from the elevator doors. The whispers grew louder, almost frantic. And then it tilted its head further, the sound of its neck bending, echoing in the silence. It smiled. The smile was too wide, stretching nearly ear to ear, skin tearing slightly at the corners. I slammed the door close button. The doors shuddered but didn't close. The thing stepped forward, 1 foot into the elevator. I began hammering the buttons, every button, until finally the doors screeched shut, the cab lurching violently as it descended. When the doors opened again, I was in the lobby. Arnold, the receptionist, was standing there, or maybe he'd been standing there the whole time, watching me with a strange expression. "You pressed 19, he said, not as a question, but as a statement. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could, he added, "Next time, it'll follow you back." I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the thing smile, that impossible, tearing grin, and felt the cold seep back into my bones. I kept expecting to hear the hum of the elevator outside my apartment door, like it had decided to come for me on its own. By morning, my nerves were raw. I had no appetite, no desire to check my mailbox again, and certainly no intention of getting back in that elevator. Around 11 a.m., there was a knock at my door. 3 sharp raps. Pause. 2 more. The rhythm felt intentional, almost like a code. I opened the door to find Karen standing there. She was dressed in a faded green sweater and jeans this time, but her eyes were exactly the same. Cold, calculating, and unblinking. "You pressed it, didn't you?" she said. "Pressed what?" I asked, feigning ignorance. Her lips curled, but it wasn't quite a smile. 19. I didn't answer, but she seemed to take my silence as confirmation. "You're lucky you came back alone," she said, stepping inside without waiting for permission. "Most people, they don't." She wandered to my kitchen table, fingers tracing the wood grain like she was searching for something. Then she turned to face me. "That floor doesn't exist," she continued, "not in the way the others do. The Hawthorne has 18 floors, but sometimes the elevator decides there's another." I leaned against the wall, crossing my arms. "What is it?" Karen's eyes flicked to the door, as if making sure it was still shut. Then she lowered her voice. "A holding place." "For what?" Her jaw clenched. "For them. Things that don't belong anywhere else. They wait there, in the dark, until the building lets them out. And once they've seen you..." She let the sentence die, but her meaning was clear. I tried to laugh it off. "You sound like you've been watching too many horror movies." Karen didn't flinch. "I've been there," she said, her voice like gravel. "When I first moved in, the elevator took me, and it didn't bring me back alone." A chill spread through me. "What do you mean?" She pulled her sweater collar aside, just enough for me to see. Her skin was pale, but across her collarbone was something dark and jagged, like a burn scar, except it was shaped like fingers. Long, thin fingers. "I can feel it sometimes," she whispered, still holding on. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then Karen straightened, walking toward the door. "You need to avoid the elevator at night," she said, "and if you ever hear the whispering before the doors open, don't look." She stepped into the hallway. "Oh," she added, turning back with that same unreadable look in her eyes, "and never, ever press the button for 19 again. The second time, it's not a warning." And then she was gone, leaving me standing in the middle of my apartment, my heart pounding harder than it had in the elevator itself. I spent the next 2 days avoiding the elevator. Not that it was easy. I live on the 12th floor, and walking the stairs every time I needed to leave or come back was hell. But I kept hearing Karen's voice in my head, that last line echoing like it had been carved into my skull. The second time, it's not a warning. Still, I told myself, it's just an elevator. Just steel and cables and a motor. I'd been spooked by a mix of bad lighting, a malfunction, and an old woman with a flair for the dramatic. The problem was, the building didn't seem to agree. It started small. On the third morning, I went to the stairwell, but the door wouldn't open. The handle turned, but it felt like something was pushing from the other side, not letting me in. I tried the other stairwell at the opposite end of the hall. Same thing. That left only one way down. The elevator. I told myself it was fine. I'd just ride it down to the lobby, nothing else. When I stepped inside, the air was warmer than it should have been, almost humid, like someone had been breathing in there for hours. The light above buzzed faintly, but it wasn't flickering. I pressed lobby. The button didn't light up. I pressed it again, harder this time. Still nothing. Then, without me touching anything else, the 19 button lit up in a soft, pulsing orange glow. I froze. Slowly, the doors slid shut. The motor hummed, and I felt the floor beneath me begin to rise. I jabbed at door open, but it stayed dead. I hit stop, but the elevator ignored me, climbing higher and higher. The numbers above the door ticked upward. 13, 14, 15. When it reached 18, it didn't stop. The panel went blank for a second. No numbers at all. And then 19. The air got colder. Not just cool, frigid, like stepping into a freezer. My breath fogged in front of me. The buzzing light overhead dimmed to a weak glow, and I realized I could hear something. It wasn't quite whispering, but it wasn't silence either. It was a soft, rhythmic sound, like breathing, but it wasn't mine. The elevator slowed, and the doors opened. What lay beyond wasn't a floor. It wasn't even part of the building. It was a hallway, long, impossibly long, stretching away into total darkness. The walls were rough, wet stone, dripping with water that smelled like rust and earth. No carpet, no wallpaper, just cold rock. And halfway down the hall, something moved. Not walking, not running, just swaying, like it was hanging from the ceiling, but alive. That's when I heard it, the whispering. It was inside my head. No, not just inside my head. It was behind my ears, as if someone was standing close enough to touch me, but wasn't there. Step out. I took a step back instead. The thing in the hallway stopped swaying. Slowly, It tilted its head toward me, though I couldn't see its face. I could only make out the outline, impossibly tall, impossibly thin, with arms that hung too low and hands that brushed the floor. Step out. This time, it wasn't a whisper. It was in my own voice. I slammed my hand against door close so hard my palm stung. The doors shut with a slow, reluctant groan, like they didn't want to. The elevator lurched, and I felt it drop, not smoothly, but in sharp, jarring motions, like it was falling down an empty shaft. When the doors finally opened again, I was in the lobby. The warmth hit me like a wave. The normal, safe, carpeted lobby. I stumbled out, breathing hard. The doorman glanced at me, frowned, and said, "Sir, you're not supposed to be here. Not yet." And when I looked back at him, his eyes weren't human. "What do you mean?" I stumbled backward at the sight of the doorman's eyes. They weren't glowing or monstrous. That would have almost been easier. No, they were just wrong. The whites of his eyes were too dark, like old paper soaked in tea, and the pupils weren't round. They were vertical slits, thin and sharp. For a moment, we just stared at each other. "Not yet," he repeated, his voice soft and perfectly calm, like he was telling me my laundry wasn't ready. I tried to speak, to ask him what the hell he meant, but the words caught in my throat. My body felt slow, sluggish, like moving through syrup. That's when I heard it again. Not the whisper from the hallway, something deeper. A sound like breathing, except it wasn't coming from a person. It was coming from the walls. At first, I thought it was my imagination, just the faint hum of the building's heating system. But then I saw it. The wallpaper on the lobby wall, that old cream and gold floral pattern I'd passed 100 times, was slowly flexing in and out, as if something huge behind it was inhaling and exhaling. The doorman glanced toward the elevator. "It's not going to like that you went to the 19th, he said, still in that too calm voice. "It doesn't like being seen before it's ready." My mouth was dry. "What is it?" I asked. He tilted his head slightly, like a curious dog. "You think this is a building?" he said. "That's your first mistake. This is a body, and every floor is a memory." The elevator chimed behind me, that soft, cheerful ding. I turned, and the door slid open again. No one was inside. But the light wasn't normal. Instead of the usual dim yellow bulb, there was a deep, pulsing red glow coming from the ceiling, matching the rhythm of the breathing walls. And the smell hit me. Not the metallic scent from before. This was warm, coppery, like standing too close to fresh blood. The doorman stepped closer, and for the first time, I noticed his hands. His nails were gone, not broken or bitten, just absorbed. Smooth skin where nails should be. His fingers twitched as if he was resisting the urge to touch me. "You can leave now," he said. "But it will find you again. It always does." I didn't wait for him to explain. I bolted for the front doors. They didn't open. The handles moved, but the glass rippled under my touch. Not like water exactly, more like skin. Something on the other side pushed back, and I swear I felt a heartbeat. I yanked harder at the glass skin door, my breath ragged, palms slick with sweat. The heartbeat under my hands quickened, matching my panic. "Let me out!" I shouted, not even caring if I sounded insane. The doorman didn't move. "You're not in anymore," he murmured. "You're inside. There's a difference." The words made no sense, or maybe they made too much sense and my brain refused to accept it. I pressed my forehead against the glass, peering outside, and froze. It wasn't the street. It wasn't the line of parked cars I expected. It was more hallway, longer than any building could hold, stretching in both directions until it vanished into blackness. The carpeting outside was the same dull red as the one under my feet. The walls were lined with identical brass apartment doors, each marked with a number that didn't make sense. 1032, 413, 98, 11, repeating and shifting when I looked away. Some of the doors moved, not opening, just shivering in place, as though something inside was pacing. I stumbled back. This isn't real. This isn't real. The doorman tilted his head, almost sympathetically. That's the second mistake, he said. It's more real than the world you think you know. I turned toward the elevator, the only other way out I could see. The red light inside had grown deeper, almost black. The air shimmered as though it were hot, but when I stepped closer, it was ice cold. The floor numbers above the doors flickered, then froze on a single word instead of a number: down. My gut twisted. Something about that word. It didn't mean the lobby. Still, the longer I stood there, the louder the heartbeat behind me grew, not from the door this time, but from the walls themselves. The building was watching me hesitate. I had two choices: step into an elevator that might take me somewhere worse, or stay in a place where the walls were alive and the exits led deeper inside. The doorman smiled, his teeth too sharp now, like they'd grown while I wasn't looking. "Time's up," he said. The elevator doors slid wider. From deep inside, a single whisper escaped, not in my ears, but in my head. "Come down." The whisper was still in my head when I stepped forward, my legs moving as if they belonged to someone else. The elevator's interior glowed a sickly red, but the light didn't come from a bulb. It bled from the walls themselves. The floor was no longer smooth metal. It was soft. Carpet? No, it was warm. I looked down. The texture wasn't fabric. It was skin, smooth, stretched taut, and pulsing faintly with that same heartbeat I'd heard before. I almost bolted, but the moment I turned to leave, the doors slammed shut with a noise like bone breaking. The elevator jerked violently and began to descend. The panel above the door didn't display numbers anymore. Instead, a single word blinked over and over: down. My gut twisted. Something about that word. It didn't mean the lobby. Still, the longer I stood there, the louder the heartbeat behind me grew, not from the door this time, but from the walls themselves. The building was watching me hesitate. I had two choices: step into an elevator that might take me somewhere worse, or stay in a place where the walls were alive and the exits led deeper inside. The doorman smiled, his teeth too sharp now, like they'd grown while I wasn't looking. "Time's up," he said. The elevator doors slid wider. From deep inside, a single whisper escaped, not in my ears, but in my head. "Come down." The whisper was still in my head when I stepped forward, my legs moving as if they belonged to someone else. The elevator's interior glowed a sickly red, but the light didn't come from a bulb. It bled from the walls themselves. The floor was no longer smooth metal. It was soft. Carpet? No, it was warm. I looked down. The texture wasn't fabric. It was skin, smooth, stretched taut, and pulsing faintly with that same heartbeat I'd heard before. I almost bolted,
But the moment I turned to leave, the doors slammed shut with a noise like bone breaking. The elevator jerked violently and began to descend. The panel above the door didn't display numbers anymore. Instead, a single word blinked over and over: below. My gut twisted. Something about that word. It didn't mean the lobby. Still, the longer I stood there, the louder the heartbeat behind me grew. Not from the door this time, but from the walls themselves. The building was watching me hesitate. I had two choices: step into an elevator that might take me somewhere worse, or stay in a place where the walls were alive and the exits led deeper inside. The doorman smiled, his teeth too sharp now, like they'd grown while I wasn't looking. "Time's up," he said. The elevator doors slid wider. From deep inside, a single whisper escaped, not in my ears, but in my head. "Come down."
The thing in the doorway wasn't a shadow. Not exactly. It had shape, but not form. It was like smoke trying to remember how to be a body. Every time the flickering elevator light caught it, the smoke shifted, briefly becoming something I almost recognized. A face from my past, a room I'd been in, a sound I'd heard years ago. It was showing me memories, my memories. Karen stayed where she was, watching me with that too wide smile. "This is where the building gives you back what you lost," she said softly, "or what you buried." The thing drifted closer, and as it did, the temperature in the elevator dropped. Frost began creeping over the mirrored walls, but in the ice, my reflection wasn't matching my movements. I stepped back. My reflection stepped forward. The smoke reached the doorway and pressed up against the invisible threshold as if it couldn't quite step inside without permission. A whisper slid into my head. "I kept this for you." I glanced at Karen. "What the hell is it?" Her smile didn't falter, but her voice was flat now. "It's yours. It's always been yours. Don't you remember?" The moment she said it, the elevator lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed us. When they flickered back on, I wasn't in the elevator anymore. I was standing in a room from my childhood, my bedroom, down to the scratches on the wooden dresser, except everything was wrong. The window showed nothing but blackness. My bed was covered in old, damp sheets, and sitting on the bed, holding something in its lap, was me. The other me smiled, and I saw teeth that didn't belong in any human mouth. Behind me, the elevator doors began to close. Karen's voice floated through, muffled but clear. "You only get one chance to stay. Choose fast." I didn't move, not because I didn't want to, but because my legs refused to obey. The other me rose from the bed, each step slow, deliberate. Its bare feet made no sound, but every footfall seemed to echo inside my skull. It was holding something in its hands, a small wooden box, the kind with a brass latch. My old keepsake box. I hadn't seen it since I was 12. I remembered losing it. I remembered crying because I thought my parents had thrown it away. The other me extended the box. "You forgot this." Its voice was mine, exactly mine, but stretched thin, like it had been dragged over nails. Every syllable scraped at my ears.
I backed toward the elevator, my hands out. No, I'm not supposed to be here. Karen's voice came from the narrow opening between the doors. If you want to come back, you have to take it. That's the rule. The doors shuddered, beginning to close. The other me's eyes widened, and for a heartbeat, there was something like desperation in its face. You need this. You left this. The darkness outside the window began to ripple, shapes pressing against the glass from the other side, shapes with too many joints in their arms, heads bending at unnatural angles. The sound came next, a low, wet dragging, like something heavy being pulled across concrete. Karen's voice was urgent now. Take it, or they decide for you. The other me shoved the box into my hands, just as the first crack appeared in the window glass, and when my fingers touched the latch, every light in the room went out. I was back in the elevator. Karen was standing closer this time, her smile gone. Her eyes searched my face like she was looking for something. You opened it, didn't you? She asked quietly. The box was still in my hands. The latch was undone. From inside came a single, slow knock. The knock came again, slow, deliberate, like whatever was inside knew there was no rush. I froze, gripping the box so tightly the edges dug into my palms. The elevator wasn't moving anymore, but the floor indicator was cycling through numbers I didn't recognize. Day, W, K, N. Karen's eyes didn't leave the box. You shouldn't have touched it. I swallowed hard. Then why tell me to take it? Her lips twitched, almost a smile, but not quite. Because the building doesn't give second chances. If you'd left it behind, it would have come looking for you. Now, it's bound to you instead of us. The knock turned into a slow scrape, like claws against wood. A whisper leaked through the thin seams in the lid. Let me see you. I wanted to drop it. I wanted to throw it into the dark and run. But my hands wouldn't listen. Karen stepped closer. You don't open it here, not if you want to keep your face. Her words landed heavy, like they weren't just a threat, but a rule written somewhere older than the building itself. The elevator groaned, and I felt it begin to descend, but the sensation was wrong. It wasn't moving smoothly. It was lurching, stopping, sinking, almost like it was falling down a shaft that wasn't entirely vertical. The lights above us dimmed to a deep amber glow, casting long, twisted shadows that didn't match our shapes. Karen leaned in until her mouth was almost at my ear. There's one more thing you need to understand before we arrive, she whispered. I didn't want to ask, but I did anyway. Where are we going? Her breath was cold. Not where, when. The scraping inside the box stopped, and then, in my own voice, perfect, exact, it said, I remember this day.
The elevator jerked so hard I almost dropped the box. The floor indicator blinked once, then displayed a date instead of a number. 09/14/2007. My stomach twisted. That was the year before I ever set foot in this city. The year before I'd even moved into my first apartment. Karen's voice was quiet, almost reverent. Don't speak when the doors open. Don't wave. Don't try to change anything. The doors slid apart. Instead of a floor,
I saw a daylight street I half recognized. Wet asphalt, a cracked sidewalk, the faint smell of rain. And walking right toward the elevator was me. Not the twisted double I'd seen before, not some shadow version. It was me, years younger, headphones in, backpack slung over one shoulder, completely oblivious. My chest tightened. I remembered that backpack, the frayed strap. I remembered losing it later that year. Karen's hand shot out, blocking me from stepping forward. "You're not supposed to be here yet," she whispered. The younger me passed in front of the elevator without even glancing inside. But then, he stopped. Slowly, his head turned toward me. And the moment our eyes met, the box in my hands rattled violently. From inside came my own voice, younger, sharper. "I told you not to come back here." Karen slammed the elevator button. The doors snapped shut, but not before I saw something stretch across the street toward us, a shadow that didn't match anything in the sunlight. The elevator lurched upward, but the date on the panel didn't change. Karen's knuckles were white on the railing. "You've made it aware of you now. That's not good." The box rattled again, harder. Something inside was laughing. The elevator's hum deepened into a low, mechanical growl. The lights flickered, then steadied into a sickly yellow glow that made Karen's face look older, sharper, like the light itself was shaving years off the present. The box in my hands shifted again, but this time it didn't scrape. It pulsed, almost like it had a heartbeat. Then it spoke. Not in my younger voice, not in Karen's, but in something in between, like my voice and hers were woven together. "Give me your name, and I'll take you back." Karen's head snapped toward it, fury in her eyes. "No bargains," she said sharply. "It's not ready." The voice chuckled from inside. "She'll tell you I'm dangerous. She's right. But she won't tell you why she keeps me here." I tightened my grip. "Why would I give you my name?" "Because you've already lost it once," it replied smoothly. "And if you don't claim it now, she will." Karen stepped closer, hand outstretched for the box. "Don't listen. It's trying to anchor to you. Once it has your name, it can open doors you'll never close." But the thing inside wasn't done. "I can give you what she won't. I can show you the day she's trying to erase." A sudden shudder ran through the elevator, and the floor beneath us seemed to sink just a little. Not a drop, but a soft settling, like the ground giving way under our weight. Karen's lunged for the emergency stop, but the box rattled violently, and a burst of freezing air poured out of the seams. The voice whispered, low and urgent, "Say it, and we can leave her here." Karen's face was pale now, but her voice was steel. "If you give it your name, you won't be you anymore. You'll be it." And then the elevator stopped, not with a jolt, but with a gentle, almost reverent stillness. The doors began to open, onto a place I recognized instantly. My childhood home. The air that met me as the elevator doors slid open wasn't stale or dusty. It was warm, comforting, the kind of warmth you only feel in a home where someone's been cooking all day. The hallway stretched out in front of me, the faded wallpaper exactly as I remembered. Little blue flowers curling up the walls in looping patterns. I could hear the faint hiss of a kettle from the kitchen. Karen stayed in the elevator. She didn't move, but her voice followed me. Don't go in. This isn't yours anymore." I ignored her and stepped forward. The carpet under my feet was soft, too soft, like it hadn't aged a day. Every photograph on the wall was exactly where it should be, except in each one, the faces were blurred, not obscured like bad film, but smudged as if the people had been erased with careful, deliberate strokes. I passed the living room and saw the old sofa, the knitted blanket my mother always kept draped over the back. The TV was on, but instead of a show, there was a static image, a still frame of the elevator doors closing. The kettle whistled louder. I followed the sound into the kitchen. That's when I saw her. She was sitting at the table with her back to me, hands clasped neatly on the surface. Her hair was exactly like my mother's, but her head tilted slightly, like she'd been listening to me breathe since I walked in. "You're late," she said, and it was my voice again. Not the younger version, not the thing's imitation. My current voice, exactly as it is now. Karen's footsteps echoed behind me, fast and sharp. "She doesn't belong here," Karen hissed. "This is the wrong loop." The woman at the table slowly turned. Her face was mine. But her eyes, they weren't mine at all. They were the same dull yellow glow that leaked from the cracks of the box. "Sit," she said, smiling with lips that didn't quite match the words. "We've been waiting for you." Behind me, the elevator doors began to close. The kitchen clock ticked, but the sound was wrong, too slow. Every second dragged like it didn't want to get to the next. I didn't sit down. The other me tilted her head, studying me like I was the stranger here. Her smile never wavered. "You keep thinking you left," she said softly, "but you didn't. You just found another hallway to wait in." Karen finally stepped into the room, but she stayed near the doorway, like the linoleum floor was lava. The other me ignored her. She reached into the pocket of her cardigan, my old cardigan from college, and pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. She placed it on the table with a delicate tap. It was my apartment keys, only the metal was corroded, eaten away in spirals, like they'd been underwater for years. And there was something else, a tag on the keyring that didn't belong to me. A brass tag stamped with the number 19 in deep, uneven grooves. That was one of the floors the elevator had skipped earlier. "I've been collecting the exits you missed," the other me said, pushing the keys toward me. "When you've skipped enough, you don't get to choose where the elevator takes you anymore. You should know that. You're me." The room went colder. Not draft cold, vacuum cold, like something in the house had decided the air was wasted on me. Karen's voice was sharper now. "Don't take them. That's how they keep you." But my hands, they moved on their own. I reached out, fingertips brushing the jagged metal, and the kitchen flickered. Once, twice. And suddenly, the window over the sink wasn't showing the backyard. It was showing the elevator interior, empty, waiting. The other me smiled wider. "That's the real view," she whispered. "Everything else is a kindness."
The ocean's surface stretched endlessly, but it was wrong. Too still in some places, violently churning in others. The sky above was a suffocating shade of black, yet the water glowed faintly from below, casting ghostly patterns on our faces. Karen's hand dug into my arm. "Remember what I said. Don't look down, not even a glance." I stepped onto the elevator's threshold and felt nothing beneath me. My stomach lurched,
there was no solid floor. The ground shimmered beneath a thin sheet of water, as if the surface itself was pretending to be safe. The hooded figure stayed inside the elevator, his voice almost mocking. "Go ahead, test your willpower." We began walking across a series of invisible paths, the water rippling but never wetting our shoes. It was silent, no wind, no waves, until a deep, resonant knock came from below us. Karen stiffened. "They know we're here." A cold mist began curling around our ankles, smelling faintly of rust and decay. My curiosity burned against her warning, and my eyes began to drift downward before I could stop myself. In that instant, I saw them. Pale faces, dozens, maybe hundreds, just below the water's surface, their eyes open, their mouths moving in perfect sync. They weren't breathing. They weren't alive. They were waiting. Karen yanked me forward. "You looked, didn't you?" I couldn't answer. My throat had gone dry. The faces had been smiling. A low, almost human moan rose from beneath the waves, vibrating through the invisible path. The water around us began to rise in slow, deliberate swells, as though something massive was pushing upward from the depths. From far behind, the hooded figure shouted, "You're walking on its back, and it's waking up." Karen pulled a brass chain from her pocket, the infinite key dangling from it, glowing faintly. She jammed it into the air, twisting it like a lock. The ocean shimmered violently, and the path ahead began to distort, revealing a doorframe made of twisted coral. "We have to move now," she said. "If the whole thing breaches, there won't be any place left to run." The water beneath us pulsed, and I saw one of the faces, now inches from the surface, mouth a single clear word: "Stay." The door stood there, suspended in the air above the black ocean, its frame sculpted entirely from twisted coral. Jagged edges jutted out like claws, yet faint bioluminescent veins ran through it, glowing in soft blues and greens. It was beautiful and deeply wrong, as if it belonged to a place where life and death had been blended into one. Karen was already at the handle, breathing hard. "Don't stop. Whatever you do, don't look back." I stepped closer, the air thick with the scent of brine and something far older, a smell like damp stone sealed for centuries. Behind us, the ocean's surface began to heave again, the swells turning into sharp, deliberate waves. The hooded figure had stepped out of the elevator now, standing on the invisible path. His robes clung wetly to him, though he hadn't touched the water. "You're opening it too soon," he said calmly. "You're going to lose pieces of yourself on the other side." Karen didn't even turn around. "I already have." She twisted the coral handle. A sound like bones grinding underwater echoed out, and the ocean reacted violently. Waves surged toward us, but instead of splashing, they rose like walls, trying to enclose us. From those waves, shapes began forming. Human at first glance, but wrong, in the way their limbs bent backward and their necks moved like eels. Their mouths were too wide, their teeth needle-sharp. "They're guardians," Karen hissed. "It means the door's worth protecting." The first of the creatures lunged onto the path, the invisible ground beneath it bending slightly. I stumbled back. "Karen, we can't." She slammed the door open. The smell hit me first, metallic, hot, like blood left in the sun. Then the light came, a swirling vortex of gold and crimson that seemed to have depth and yet no bottom. Karen shoved me forward. "Go, before it closes." I hesitated, my eyes drawn to the reflection in the ocean just below the door. It wasn't my reflection. The figure looking back at me had my face, but its eyes were black pits, and its mouth was moving, whispering something I couldn't hear over the crashing roar. Karen screamed, "Now!" I jumped. There was no sensation of falling, only the sound of my own heartbeat growing impossibly loud. The light swallowed me whole. I landed hard, but not on ground. The surface beneath me was soft, warm, and moving. When my eyes adjusted, I realized I was kneeling on something that looked like cobblestone, but each stone was a segment of hardened flesh, threaded together with thin vein-like lines that pulsed faintly. The street itself was breathing. Karen appeared beside me in an instant, her chest heaving from the leap. Don't stand still too long. The city notices. The air was thick here, not human, not dry, but heavy. Every breath came with a faint copper taste, and there was a low, constant hum in the distance, like machinery buried deep underground. We were in an open square. Tall, spindly towers ringed us, their bases curving like ribs, their surfaces covered in what I thought were carvings, until one blinked. The towers were alive, hollowed-out creatures frozen into architecture. "What is this place?" I whispered. Karen didn't answer right away. Her eyes kept scanning the horizon. "They call it the Hollow City. Every building here used to be alive. Some still are." From the nearest alley, a shadow moved. At first, I thought it was a person, but as it stepped into the square, I saw its body a mass of jointed limbs, stitched together from parts that didn't belong to each other. It wore a mask carved from bone. Karen grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward a narrow archway. "Don't talk to them. Don't even acknowledge them unless they speak to you first." The thing in the square turned its head toward us. The mask's empty eye sockets seemed to pierce straight through me. I quickened my pace, following Karen into the alley. We walked for what felt like hours. The streets twisted and shifted, as if the city were rearranging itself. Sometimes the walls pulsed in sync with my heartbeat. Sometimes the hum grew into a deep thrum that rattled my teeth. Finally, we stopped in front of a small, doorless entrance. Inside, the space was dim, lit by glowing strands of something like kelp hanging from the ceiling. A man sat at a table in the center, his skin translucent enough that I could see the dark shapes of his veins beneath. He didn't look up as we entered. "You brought another one," he said, in a voice like dried leaves scraping over stone. Karen's grip on my arm tightened painfully. "They will." The man's head tilted. "Then sit. The Hollow City always collects."
But Karen's sharp intake of breath confirmed otherwise. The hooded figure finally looked at me. I could feel the shift in its attention, like a spotlight in the dark. "One life for another," it said, each word dripping like oil. "You leave with your hours intact. She takes your place." Karen stepped closer, her face pale but her voice steady. "This is how they get you. You're desperate enough to save yourself, but they want you to choose the person who goes instead. That's the part that breaks you." I tried to push the paper away, but my hands wouldn't obey. The pen felt welded to my fingers, my arm trembling as if someone was guiding it toward the line. The figure continued, voice low and deliberate. "If you don't sign, the elevator will come again, and next time, you won't have Karen to guide you." The void around us seemed to pulse, the darkness thickening. Somewhere deep inside it, I could hear footsteps. They were slow, heavy, and getting closer. Karen's grip on my wrist tightened. "We need to leave, now, before it's not a choice anymore." I looked at her, really looked. Her jaw was set, but her eyes told me she'd made this decision before. She'd seen someone's name appear on that contract, and she'd chosen. The footsteps grew louder, but they didn't echo like a human's.
Each step hit with a dull, wet thud, as though something heavy was dragging itself forward. The air temperature dropped, not in a sudden rush, but in a steady, creeping way that made the hairs on my arms stand straight. The hooded figure turned its head slightly toward the darkness. "He comes for what is owed," it murmured. Karen's nails dug into my wrist. "We're out of time." A shape emerged. At first, it looked like a man in a long, black coat, head bowed, but as it stepped closer, its proportions became wrong. Its arms were too long, fingers grazing the floor. Its shoulders were hunched so far forward that the spine jutted like jagged peaks under the fabric. When it lifted its head, I realized it had no face, just a deep indentation, as though someone had pressed a thumb into soft clay and kept pressing until there was nothing left. It sniffed the air, not with nostrils, with the sound of something wet inhaling through invisible slits. The hooded figure slid the contract toward me. "Sign, or he will take you both." The collector tilted its faceless head, and then it smiled, not with a mouth, but with the way its entire head shifted upward, the indentation widening like an opening abyss. Karen pulled me back, whispering fast and harsh into my ear. "He's not bluffing. The collector doesn't wait. If he's here, it means someone's already late on their payment." The thing began moving again. Thud, drag, thud, drag, and every step seemed to pull more of the surrounding darkness with it, swallowing the floor, the air, even the sound of my heartbeat. Then it stopped. It stood directly behind me. The weight of its presence was crushing. My knees buckled. A hand, if you could call it that, landed on my shoulder. The fingers were long, cold, and tipped with something hard, not claws, more like nails that had been sharpened to points. Karen suddenly stepped between us, her voice trembling but defiant. "He's mine. This is my floor. You'll take him over my dead body." The collector didn't move, didn't speak, but the pressure in the room doubled, like it was considering her offer. Then the hooded figure whispered something I'll never forget. "That can be arranged." The collector's faceless head tilted toward Karen, its fingers still pressing into my shoulder like ice spikes. Karen's eyes darted to me, then back to it. Her voice dropped into a tone I'd never heard from her before. Not shrill, not smug, but almost reverent. "You know the terms. I invoke the transfer clause." The hooded figure stiffened. The collector's head twitched, not in refusal, but in curiosity. The hooded figure murmured, almost warning her. "That clause hasn't been used in decades." Karen straightened, though I could see her knees shaking. "I'm offering him a trade, his soul for mine, not a permanent claim, just a holding." The collector stepped back slightly, as if weighing the scent of her words. Its long fingers tapped against its coat in a slow, deliberate rhythm, each tap echoing in my skull like the ticking of a massive clock. The hooded figure leaned toward me. "You don't understand what she's doing," it said in a low hiss. "She's buying you time, her time. When her clock runs out, yours starts again." Karen snapped at him without looking away from the collector. "Write it, now." The hooded figure pulled a small, brittle notebook from within its cloak. The pages were yellowed, the ink dark and fresh at the same time. It began to write in symbols I didn't recognize, not letters, not numbers, but shapes that seemed to shimmer on the page like they were alive. Karen spoke faster now, as though afraid the thing might change its mind. You take my years, every one, until I call them back. The collector's faceless indentation pulsed slightly, as if breathing or smiling. It reached into its coat and pulled out something small. A brass elevator key, old and worn, with the number infinity etched into it. Karen's lips parted in shock. You're giving me the infinite key? The hooded figure stopped writing, looking up in alarm. That's not a gift, Karen. That's a curse that never ends. The collector placed the key in her palm and closed her fingers around it with those long, cold hands. Then, without a word, it turned and walked into the shadows. Each step it took seemed to erase more of the room until nothing remained but the three of us. Karen sagged, her shoulders trembling. She opened her hand to stare at the key. Her voice was barely audible when she spoke to me. You're safe, for now, but this changes everything. I glanced toward the darkness where the collector had gone. Who was that? Karen looked at me, her face pale but her eyes blazing. That wasn't a who. That was the landlord of every place you've ever been afraid to enter. Karen's hand shook as she held up the brass key, its surface catching the dim, unnatural light that seemed to come from nowhere. The etched infinity wasn't just carved, it was moving, the loops shifting subtly, as if breathing. I stepped closer, but she jerked her hand back. Don't touch it, she warned, not unless you're ready to lose everything you think you know about doors. The hooded figure let out a dry chuckle. Doors, hallways, elevators, stairs, you still think the places you go are connected. Karen ignored him, focusing on me. This key doesn't open a floor. It doesn't open a place. It opens any place. But once you open it, she glanced at the hooded figure, you can't be sure what's on the other side is the same as what you left. I stared at the key, my mind racing. So, like a master key? Karen shook her head, slowly, her expression tightening. No, like a god key. It listens. It chooses for you. The hooded figure leaned closer, his voice almost gleeful. And sometimes it chooses wrong. Or maybe it chooses right, and you're the mistake. Karen slipped the key into her pocket, as though afraid the sight of it would tempt me. It's bound to me now. I've got control, for the moment, but the collector doesn't give anything without wanting something back. And when it comes for the payment, it won't be polite. I frowned. What does it want from you? She gave a thin, humorless smile. Not me, us. The hooded figure's pen scratched against the yellowed notebook again, faster this time. She's not telling you the worst part, he said, without looking up. The infinite key can also open the places you never wanted to return to, the places you escaped from. I felt my stomach knot. You mean it can open to... Karen cut me off sharply. Don't say it. Don't think about anywhere you don't want to go. The key listens. A low rumble vibrated beneath our feet, not mechanical, not earthly. The walls around us shifted, as though breathing.
The elevator panel on the wall flickered, displaying symbols instead of numbers. Karen's voice dropped to a whisper. It's waking up. The hooded figure snapped his notebook shut. You're out of time. It's going to pick a door now. The elevator doors slid open, revealing not the hallway we'd left, but a vast open ocean beneath a black sky with no stars. The water moved in unnatural patterns, spirals that vanished into bottomless pits. Karen's grip tightened on my wrist. If we step through, we cannot look down. I sat down across from the man, though man felt like the wrong word. His features were human, but too perfect, too symmetrical, like a sketch someone had drawn and never quite finished. His eyes had no whites, only a deep, clouded amber, swirling slowly like liquid trapped in glass. The table between us wasn't made of wood. It was bone, polished smooth, the grooves forming faint spirals toward its center. In that spiral lay a knife, thin, black, and so sharp it seemed to drink the light around it. Karen remained standing at my side. She didn't look at me, only at the man. "They need passage," she said. The man finally moved, his fingers long and jointed like insect legs. He tapped the table once. Tap, tap. The sound echoed far too long for such a small space. "Passage," he said. "Here, the only currency is vain." I frowned. "Vain?" He smiled faintly. "Yes, a living thread. We take one, and in return, you may walk where the city will not swallow you." Karen shifted uneasily. "Don't try to haggle," she whispered to me. "If he asks for more than one, you run." I didn't understand until he picked up the black knife and gestured toward my arm. "One vein from the forearm. I will extract it. It will not kill you, unless the city decides otherwise." My mouth went dry. "And if I refuse?" He leaned forward, and for the first time, I noticed the faint shiver of movement in the walls around us, like the entire building was leaning in to hear my answer. "Refuse," he said softly, "and the hollow city will keep you, piece by piece, until you are the next tower." The knife's edge kissed my skin, so cold it burned. I could hear something, faint, rhythmic, coming from within the blade, a heartbeat, but it wasn't mine. Karen put a hand on my shoulder, her voice low and urgent. "It's this, or we never leave." The hum in the air grew louder. The glowing strands above dimmed, as if the city itself were waiting. I nodded, barely. The man's smile widened. "Good. Now hold still. The city takes gently when it is fed." The blade pressed in. I felt no pain, only a strange pulling sensation deep inside my arm, as though something invisible were being drawn out through my skin. A thin, glowing thread began to rise from the cut, and it pulsed in time with my heart. He coiled the thread into a small glass vial, corked it, and placed it in a box carved from black stone. "It is done. The city will not touch you. For now." Karen exhaled, tension leaving her shoulders. But I noticed her eyes flick toward the door, as if she knew this wasn't the end, just the start of another kind of debt. We left the bone table in silence. The black vial man didn't watch us go. He was already threading another glowing vein into a jar, his long fingers working with cold precision. The air outside was heavier, almost syrupy. The hallway didn't look the same as when we entered. The floor tiles seemed darker, slick, as though something had seeped up from beneath. Karen walked ahead, her pace faster than before. "Don't look at the walls," she said. "Not now." But I couldn't help it. They were breathing, slow, shallow movements, and each exhale carried whispers in a language I didn't understand. We turned a corner and froze. At the far end of the corridor stood a figure in a tattered gray suit. His skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes were pure black, not the amber of the man we just left, but absent, like holes punched through paper. He was holding something in his hand, a black ledger. Karen stiffened. "Debt collector," she muttered, more to herself than to me.
The figure didn't move. He simply opened the ledger and began writing with a pen so sharp it scratched the air. The sound was unbearable, like nails on glass, over and over. I whispered, "Is it about me?" Karen's jaw tightened. "It's about anyone who owes the Hollow City, and now you're one of them." The figure began walking toward us, slow and deliberate, each step leaving a faint black imprint on the floor. With every step, the lights overhead flickered and died, leaving him in shadow until he was only a few feet away. He spoke in a voice that was many voices layered on top of each other, male, female, young, old, all at once. "The debt is recognized. The debt will be claimed sooner than agreed." Karen hissed, "That's not the bargain." The collector ignored her, his gaze fixed on me, though I felt it inside my bones rather than on my skin. "You carry the vein of the Hollow City within you now. When it beats for us, you will come, whether you wish it or not." I stepped back, but my arm burned, the spot where the black knife had touched me. I looked down and saw faint glowing threads pulsing under my skin, moving toward my shoulder like roots. Karen grabbed my wrist and pulled me into a side hallway. "We have to move. If he writes your name in full, you're finished." From behind us came the slow, patient sound of the pen scratching in the ledger again. And then, my name, half written. Karen didn't stop running until the hallway twisted so sharply it felt like we doubled back on ourselves. I leaned against the wall, catching my breath, only to pull away in disgust. The surface was warm, damp, and it pulsed faintly under my palm, as if the building itself had a heartbeat. Karen checked behind us, her eyes scanning the darkness, like she expected the debt collector to just appear. "He only wrote half," she muttered. "We might still have time." I swallowed hard. "Half of what? My name?" She turned toward me, her expression dead serious. "In the Hollow City, names are more than labels. They're keys. The full name, all the way through, the way your mother whispered it when you were born, is a lock on your existence. If he writes it in that ledger, it's not just your life that's his, it's you, everything you've ever been or could be." The glowing veins under my skin pulsed brighter at her words. "And half a name?" I asked, my voice smaller than I wanted. "Half a name," Karen said, "means you'll be hunted. They'll finish it in pieces. Once it's complete, you'll walk into the Hollow City on your own. No chains, no threats, because you won't even know you're leaving." My stomach churned. "So he can finish it any time?" She shook her head. "Only if he hears it. Only if you say it." We both went silent, the unspoken truth hanging heavy between us. The collector would find a way to make me say it. A metallic clang echoed from somewhere above us. Karen flinched. "He's already moving floors." The air grew colder, my breath fogged in the dim light. From down the hall, a slow tapping began, not footsteps, but the pen clicking against the ledger's cover. Each tap matched the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Karen grabbed my shoulder. "Listen to me. You don't speak to him. You don't answer him. And whatever you do, you don't finish your name, not even in a whisper." I nodded. But then the tapping stopped. From the shadows ahead, the collector's voice, all those voices at once, slid into the air. "You forgot the rest. Let me help you remember." And for a split second, I nearly said it.
We bolted again, Karen gripping my wrist so tightly I could feel her nails digging in. The hallway was endless. Every time we turned a corner, another stretched ahead. Same peeling wallpaper, same flickering lights. Except the lights weren't just flickering anymore. They were blinking in rhythm. Dot, dot, dash, dash, dot, dot. Morse code. Karen noticed it too. "Don't look," she hissed, yanking my head forward. But I couldn't help it. The code repeated again and again, and somehow I understood without ever having learned it. It was spelling the first half of my name. A faint sound joined the blinking, a whisper that seemed to come from inside the walls, not through them, inside, like the plaster and wiring themselves had learned how to speak. At first, it was soft, just fragments, brushing my ear like a cold draft. Karen's steps quickened. "He's making the building help him. Don't react." But I couldn't help it. The code repeated again and again, and somehow I understood without ever having learned it. It was spelling the first half of my name. A faint sound joined the blinking, a whisper that seemed to come from inside the walls, not through them, inside, like the plaster and wiring themselves had learned how to speak. At first, it was soft, just fragments, brushing my ear like a cold draft. Karen's steps quickened. "He's making the building help him. Don't react." I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood, forcing myself to stare at the floor. The whispering shifted, multiplying. Now it came from everywhere, from the ceiling, the floor, the doorknobs we passed. Each syllable was clearer than the last. By the time we reached the elevator at the end of the hall, the voice was almost chanting it, my name in broken pieces, overlapping in a dozen different tones. Karen slammed the call button. "Come on, come on." The elevator doors opened instantly, too fast. It was waiting for us. Inside, the walls were no longer brushed metal. They were black stone, slick like wet obsidian. And in the center of the back wall, carved deep enough to cast shadows, was the first half of my name. It glowed, faintly, as if lit from within. The pen's tapping began again, this time coming from inside the car. Karen shoved me backward. "We're taking the stairs." I stumbled, but before I could move, the elevator spoke. Not Karen's voice, not the collector's. My own voice, whispering the rest of my name. I froze. Karen yanked me back so hard my shoulder popped. The elevator's black stone interior pulsed faintly, almost breathing. My own voice still echoed inside it, whispering my name, drawing it out syllable by syllable, as though it enjoyed tasting the sound. Karen slammed the stairwell door open, but before I could follow, the elevator lurched forward. Not down, not up, forward, sliding out of the shaft like some impossible machine. Its doors hung open as it glided into the hallway, floor scraping in a deafening grind. The shadows inside it swirled and thickened, twisting into the shape of a man. Tall, thin, no face, just an impression, like someone had pressed their hands against wet clay where his features should be. When he spoke, the sound didn't come from his head. It came from behind me, above me, inside my own chest. "You're late." Karen stepped between us, arm outstretched. "He's not yours." The figure tilted its head. "Everyone rides eventually." The lights above flickered again. Dot, dash, dot, dot. Morse code. I recognized it this time. Trade. Karen's voice dropped, tight with fear. "No deals." The collector's shadowed form leaned slightly toward her. "Not for you, for him." I took a step back, but the hallway behind me had changed. The walls were gone, the floor too, just black space stretching forever. Karen grabbed my arm, nails cutting into my skin. "Don't listen." The collector cut her off. "One ride, just one. You'll see the thing you've been looking for since you were 6 years old, and you'll walk away untouched." I felt my stomach twist. 6 years old. My mind flashed to something I hadn't thought about in decades. The morning I woke up to find my mother standing in the kitchen, frozen mid-step, as if time had stopped for her alone. Karen's grip tightened.
That's how he gets you. He knows things. I keep my word, the collector said, but only once. The elevator waited behind him, humming faintly, black stone walls still glowing with my carved name. For the first time, I wondered if Karen was protecting me or keeping me from something she didn't want me to know. Karen's hand trembled on my arm, and I could feel her pulse hammering through her fingertips. "Don't," she whispered, her voice low but urgent. "You think he's offering you an answer, but what he's giving you is a debt, and you will pay it." The collector didn't move, but the elevator behind him seemed to lean toward me, almost like it could smell my hesitation. The black stone shimmered faintly, not polished, but wet. "One ride," the collector repeated. "One truth. After that, I disappear from your life forever." The hallway Herreritas was silent, except for that low humming vibration the elevator gave off. It wasn't mechanical, it felt biological. I looked into that shadow where his face should be, and for a split second, less than a heartbeat, I thought I saw eyes. Not human ones, glassy, multifaceted, reflecting the dim light like an insect's. Karen stepped in front of me fully now, squaring her shoulders. "He's not yours." The figure tilted its head. "Everyone rides eventually." The lights above flickered again. Dot, dash, dot, dot. Morse code. I recognized it this time. Trade. Karen's voice dropped, tight with fear. "No deals." The collector's shadowed form leaned slightly toward her. "Not for you, for him." I took a step back, but the hallway behind me had changed. The walls were gone, the floor too, just black space stretching forever. Karen grabbed my arm, nails cutting into my skin. "Don't listen." The collector cut her off. "One ride, just one. You'll see the thing you've been looking for since you were 6 years old, and you'll walk away untouched." I felt my stomach twist. 6 years old? My mind flashed to something I hadn't thought about in decades. The morning I woke up to find my mother standing in the kitchen, frozen mid-step, as if time had stopped for her alone. Karen's grip tightened. "That's how he gets you. He knows things." "I keep my word," the collector said, "but only once." The elevator waited behind him, humming faintly, black stone walls still glowing with my carved name. For the first time, I wondered if Karen was protecting me or keeping me from something she didn't want me to know. Karen's hand trembled on my arm, and I could feel her pulse hammering through her fingertips. "Don't," she whispered, her voice low but urgent. "You think he's offering you an answer, but what he's giving you is a debt, and you will pay it." The collector didn't move, but the elevator behind him seemed to lean toward me, almost like it could smell my hesitation. The black stone shimmered faintly, not polished, but wet. "One ride," the collector repeated. "One truth. After that, I disappear from your life forever." The hallway around us was silent, except for that low humming vibration the elevator gave off. It wasn't mechanical, it felt biological. I looked into that shadow where his face should be, and for a split second, less than a heartbeat, I thought I saw eyes. Not human ones, glassy, multifaceted, reflecting the dim light like an insect's. Karen stepped in front of me fully now, squaring her shoulders. "He's not yours." The figure tilted its head. "Everyone rides eventually." The lights above flickered again. Dot, dash, dot, dot. Morse code. I recognized it this time. Trade. Karen's voice dropped, tight with fear. "No deals." The collector's shadowed form leaned slightly toward her. "Not for you, for him." I took a step back, but the hallway behind me had changed. The walls were gone, the floor too, just black space stretching forever. Karen grabbed my arm, nails cutting into my skin. "Don't listen." The collector cut her off. "One ride, just one. You'll see the thing you've been looking for since you were 6 years old, and you'll walk away untouched." I felt my stomach twist. 6 years old? My mind flashed to something I hadn't thought about in decades. The morning I woke up to find my mother standing in the kitchen, frozen mid-step, as if time had stopped for her alone. Karen's grip tightened. That's how he gets you. He knows things. I keep my word, the collector said, but only once.
The elevator waited behind him, humming faintly, black stone walls still glowing with my carved name. For the first time, I wondered if Karen was protecting me or keeping me from something she didn't want me to know. Karen's hand trembled on my arm, and I could feel her pulse hammering through her fingertips. "Don't," she whispered, her voice low but urgent. "You think he's offering you an answer, but what he's giving you is a debt, and you will pay it." The collector didn't move, but the elevator behind him seemed to lean toward me, almost like it could smell my hesitation. The black stone shimmered, faintly, not polished, but wet. "One ride," the collector repeated, "one truth. After that, I disappear from your life forever." The hallway around us was silent, except for that low, humming vibration the elevator gave off. It wasn't mechanical. It felt biological. I looked into that shadow where his face should be, and for a split second, less than a heartbeat, I thought I saw eyes, not human ones, glassy, multifaceted, reflecting the dim light like an insect's. Karen stepped in front of me fully now, squaring her shoulders. "He doesn't belong to you." The collector didn't respond to her. He addressed me directly, voice curling into my ear like smoke. "The day your mother froze in the kitchen, do you want to know why?" It hit me like ice water down my spine. My mouth went dry. That day had haunted me for years. Everyone told me it was just sleepwalking, but I knew it wasn't. She had been standing perfectly still, eyes wide, lips moving soundlessly. I could never remember what she was trying to say. Karen's voice broke through my thoughts. "He's using it. It's bait." The collector simply waited. His patience was unnatural, like he knew I'd step forward eventually. And maybe he was right. My legs moved before I could think, one step toward him. Karen blocked me again, desperation edging her voice. "If you go in there, you're not coming back the same. People don't just ride, they change." I met her eyes. "Then why are you still here?" Her lips pressed into a thin line, and she said nothing. That silence told me more than her words ever could. I brushed past her. The elevator door, if you could call it that, opened wider. The shadows inside parted slightly, revealing that same impossible darkness beyond the walls. The hum grew louder, now mixing with a faint clicking sound, like beetles crawling just out of sight. The collector stepped aside, making room for me to enter. I hesitated on the threshold, feeling the air inside cold, damp, and metallic, like the inside of a cave. Behind me, Karen's voice cracked. "Please, don't." I took my first step inside. The floor wasn't solid. The instant my second foot left the hallway and touched the inside of the elevator, the air shifted. It wasn't a drop in temperature. It was a change in pressure, like something exhaled from the floor itself. The surface beneath me wasn't steel. It wasn't even something solid you could trust. It was giving way. I looked down. The floor wasn't one continuous panel. It was made up of hundreds of small, matte black tiles, each pulsing faintly, rising and falling as though something was breathing just beneath them.
For a moment, I thought they were vibrating, but then I realized they were beating, like heartbeats. I froze, my toes instinctively curling inside my shoes. The collector stepped in behind me. The doors closed with no sound at all. No mechanical whir, no metallic clank, just a soft seal, like two pieces of skin meeting. Karen's muffled voice came from outside, her palms slamming against the door. "Don't let it start. You'll never get the same floor twice." But I couldn't respond. The walls around me had begun to shift. They weren't metal. They were moving, not violently, but with slow, deliberate undulations, like something was alive and wrapping itself closer around me. The collector's voice was calm, but there was a faint hunger beneath it. "Breathe with it. Let it recognize you." The tiles under my feet swelled slightly, and the rhythm of their rise and fall matched my own chest. Once, twice. Then they began to lead, forcing me to match them. It felt wrong. My body was moving to their pace, not mine. A pace that was slightly too slow, slightly too deep. "You're alive," I whispered, barely able to look away from the shifting tiles. "Not alive," the collector corrected softly. "Awake." The floor quivered under me, and for a split second, I swore I felt something press upward into the sole of my foot. Not from below the elevator, from inside the tile. I staggered back against the wall, but the wall pulsed against my spine. The collector stepped forward, his shadow blotting out the faint glow in the corners. "Once it knows your breath, it will take you where you belong." The elevator began to move. The elevator stopped without a sound. No gentle ding, no mechanical jolt, just a slow uncoiling, like the breath beneath my feet had been held and finally released. The doors slid open. At first, I thought it was another floor of the building, but the air was wrong. The smell wasn't dust, mold, or anything urban. It was old paper and burnt wood. Beyond the threshold stretched a hallway that seemed too long to fit inside the building. The walls were mismatched, sections of peeling Victorian wallpaper spliced abruptly with slabs of cold, wet stone. Somewhere far down, a single flickering bulb swung on a wire, casting wild shadows that moved as if something down there was pacing. I turned to the collector. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes lingered on the far end of the hallway, like he'd been here before. Maybe more than once. "This isn't part of the building," I said, my voice barely carrying. "It isn't part of any building," he replied. "But the elevator remembers it." I hesitated in the doorway. The air in the hallway felt heavier, like it would be harder to walk through, almost like stepping into deep water. Karen's voice was faint, but I could still hear her from somewhere far away, muffled by distance and steel. "Don't go in. That's not your hallway." The collector didn't move. "It wants you to choose," he said. "Stay here or walk forward." I looked down at the floor of the elevator. The black tiles were rising and falling faster now, almost impatiently, as if urging me out. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, the elevator behind me breathed in sharply, the doors snapping shut like a predator's jaw. The sound echoed unnaturally far down the hallway, bouncing off walls that seemed to subtly change positions each time I blinked. I glanced back. The elevator was gone. In its place was just more hallway. and from the far end, the faint, rhythmic sound of footsteps began to approach, slow, deliberate, and getting closer. The footsteps were wrong, not just in sound, but in timing. Each step was too far apart, like the thing walking had legs much longer than human, yet the soft scrape after each thud sounded like bare skin dragging against the floor. The collector didn't flinch. He stood beside me, head tilted toward the sound, his breathing steady, almost synchronized with the steps. "Do you hear it?" I whispered. "It's not what you hear that matters," he murmured. "It's what hears you." The air felt colder now, settling heavy in my chest, and then it spoke. At first, I thought it was a trick of my own pulse, some blood rush echo in my ears. But the second time, there was no mistaking it. A voice, low and gravelly, carried my name down the hallway. "Noah." It stretched the syllables like it was tasting them, savoring them, the way someone might roll wine around their tongue before swallowing. I froze. The collector leaned slightly toward me, his eyes still fixed on the darkness ahead. "That means it knows where you've been, but not yet where you're going." The footsteps resumed, closer now, but never hurrying. They were in no rush. Predators rarely are. I glanced at the walls for any sign of an exit, a door, anything. But the hallway offered nothing, just endless seams where wallpaper met stone and stone met something damp. The voice called again. "Noah, don't let him take you further." My skin prickled. It wasn't talking to me. It was warning me. I turned to the collector, but his smile had returned, faint and knowing. "Don't listen to him. Hallways lie." The bulb at the far end swung harder now, light slicing the darkness in uneven flashes, and with each swing, I could see more of the figure approaching. Not enough to see the face, just the outline. Too tall, too thin, its arms hanging low, fingertips scraping the floor. And then, in perfect unison, both the collector and the figure said my name again. The sound was impossible. Two voices, speaking the same word at the same time, yet one came from beside me and the other from deep in the hallway ahead. "Noah." The hallway seemed to stretch even longer after they spoke, like the walls themselves recoiled from the echo. The light bulb at the far end flickered in a slower rhythm now, revealing the figure only in broken fragments, a sliver of a shoulder, the outline of a jaw, the impossibly long fingers dragging along the damped floor. The collector finally turned his head toward me. His pupils were too wide for the dim light. "Do you feel it?" he asked. I didn't answer. My throat was tight, my chest aching with each breath. The figure ahead tilted its head in perfect sync with him. Same angle, same slow movement. "We are closer than you think," the collector said. The figure repeated him exactly, the tone, the pitch, even the pause between words. My heartbeat was loud enough that I could barely hear the electric hum anymore. "What is it?" I whispered. The collector smiled without looking away from the shadow ahead. "Not it." His voice was calm, almost gentle. "We." Then the figure stepped into the swing of the light, and for a split second, I saw his face. My own. The same eyes, the same jawline, but his skin looked stretched, waxy, and and his mouth was slightly too wide, curling in a grin that didn't belong to me. I stumbled back, hitting the cold wall behind me. "This is what you become if you keep going," they said, both of them. "This is what you've already started to be." And then, in unison, they stepped toward me. The collector didn't touch me, but every step he took made the hallway feel smaller, the air heavier. The other me, the wax-skinned reflection, moved with the exact same rhythm, but its footsteps didn't sound right. Instead of the soft thud of shoes on concrete, there was a wet sliding noise, like something being dragged. I couldn't decide which was worse, the thought of running and having them follow, or standing still and letting them close the gap. The collector finally broke the silence. "You think this is about an elevator?" His tone was almost pitying. "You still believe it's just a machine?" The other me tilted his head the other way, and I realized it wasn't mirroring anymore. It was studying me. "They always think the elevator takes you somewhere," the collector continued. "But sometimes it doesn't move at all." A shiver ran up my spine. "What do you mean?" I asked. He stepped aside and gestured toward my double. "Sometimes it brings someone here." The figure began to walk faster, and with each step, its face changed. Not drastically, just tiny distortions, like features shifting underwater. Its jaw cracked slightly wider, the whites of its eyes grew smaller. And then it spoke. "You don't belong in your place anymore." But his voice wasn't just mine. It was my voice layered with dozens of others, men, women, even children, all speaking at once. I backed toward the elevator doors. My palm hit the cold metal, searching desperately for the button. "You think you can go back up," the collector said, watching me, "but up doesn't exist anymore. Not for you." The lights overhead buzzed violently, and in the strobe of the flicker, my double was suddenly close enough to touch. My hand slammed the closed door button over and over, but the elevator didn't respond. It just sat there, humming softly, the same way a predator breathes when it knows you have nowhere to go. The collector stood completely still, but his shadow moved. It stretched across the floor, creeping toward my shoes like black smoke poured from an invisible crack. Behind him, the other me smiled, and that's when I saw it. Its teeth weren't just sharper, they were growing. The gums split slightly as the enamel elongated, curling inward like claws. The elevator doors began to close at last, slowly, painfully slowly, but instead of relief, dread crawled up my spine. Because the air inside the cab had changed. It smelled like rust and damp soil, and somewhere deep below, I could hear a drip, 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 echoing upward. Ding! The panel above the doors flashed, -5. I had never seen that floor before. The collector tilted his head. "I wouldn't go there if I were you." But he didn't stop me. He just stepped back into the dark, letting the doors close entirely, sealing me inside. The elevator jolted so hard I almost fell. The lights flickered, then turned a sickly green. The walls, smooth steel a moment ago, now had scratches, long, deep scratches, as though something with talons had been locked in here before me. And then, the floor beneath me shifted. Not down, not up, It was like the elevator was sliding sideways, scraping along something solid outside. Finally, the movement stopped. The bell chimed again. -5 glowed steady on the panel. The doors opened. It wasn't a hallway. It wasn't even part of a building. It was a tunnel, carved from stone, slick with moisture, stretching endlessly into darkness. The walls pulsed slightly as if breathing. Somewhere in that dark, something took a step toward me. And then another.
The first step I took out of the elevator felt wrong. Not clumsy, not hesitant, wrong. Like my foot had landed on something that recognized me. The stone beneath my shoe was warm. Not the kind of warmth from sunlight, but the faint, steady heat of something alive. As I walked deeper into the tunnel, I realized the sound of my footsteps didn't echo. Instead, there was a faint whisper after every step, repeating the rhythm of my walk. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Then I listened harder. Step, back, step, too late. I froze, breath catching in my throat. The tunnel ahead was lined with jagged carvings. Not words, not exactly. More like shapes, faces. They weren't carved in a straight row. They were scattered, uneven, but every single one of them was looking directly at me. And they were all the same face. Mine. The deeper I went, the more detailed they became. The first few were rough outlines. Then came carvings with eyes and a mouth. Then came carvings with an expression. And by the time I reached the 12th face, it was smiling. From far behind me, the elevator bell chimed again. Ding. It wasn't the sound of it leaving. It was the sound of it arriving. And I realized in cold horror that I had never pressed a button to make it follow me. I turned. The elevator doors slid open, but it wasn't the cab I'd stepped out of. This one was older, smaller, and already occupied. Standing inside, gripping the side rail, was a man whose skin looked like it had been stretched too tightly over his bones. His lips were pale and cracked, and his eyes, they were my eyes. He stepped forward, but the elevator didn't move. The dim yellow bulb above him flickered, spilling enough light to confirm what I already feared. This man wasn't just wearing my face, he was wearing my expression from a moment ago. Not now, not fear-stricken, but exactly how I looked when I first stepped into this hallway. Like a recording. "Finally," he said, voice dry and brittle, as if it hadn't been used in years. "You took your time." I couldn't speak. He smiled, the exact way I smiled at strangers when I wanted to be polite but end a conversation quickly. It wasn't friendly, it was transactional. "I'll make it easy," he continued. "You take my place in here, I take yours out there. No pain, no mess, you'll even fade gently." His words dripped with something that sounded like relief, the way a man might talk about getting out of prison. I managed to choke out, "Why me?" He tilted his head, stylling me as if the answer was obvious. "Because you were supposed to get in on the 8th floor, you weren't supposed to press the lobby button, you weren't supposed to fight it. That makes you eligible." Behind him, the elevator's interior seemed deeper than it should be. I could see the back wall, but it wasn't solid. It shimmered like water,
rippling every time the cables above groaned. And from inside that shimmer, hands pressed out, thin, skeletal fingers clawing at the barrier, not to escape, but to pull something in. He took one step closer. His shoes made no sound, as if the floor had swallowed it. "I'm giving you a gift," he said, "a chance to end the waiting. All it takes is one step forward." The whisper behind me returned, only now it wasn't the tunnel, it was the faces on the walls. Step, don't. Step, you'll never leave. I glanced at them. Their carved mouths were moving, not all in sync, some pleading, some warning, some laughing. The other me extended his hand. It was steady, too steady. "I promise," he said, "when you take my place, it won't hurt." And just for a moment, I believed him. I stood frozen. The tunnel behind me hissed with whispers. The elevator ahead hummed, cables groaning somewhere high above. And he, the man wearing my face, waited with an outstretched hand. "Time's nearly up," he said. "If the doors close, the choice will be made for you." I glanced over my shoulder. The tunnel had changed. It wasn't just concrete anymore. The walls were wet, pulsing, almost breathing. And the faint yellow glow that had once come from the far end was gone, swallowed by a moving darkness, something crawling closer but too large to fit in my understanding. A choice. I looked back at the elevator. The other me stepped aside so I could see in more clearly. The rippling wall at the back seemed calmer now, as if it was waiting. The skeletal hands had stopped clawing. Instead, they hung in the air, open, inviting. "You'll only feel it for a moment," he said gently. Then, with a small smirk, added, "if you feel it at all." Something deep in my chest twisted. There was no logic to this, no reason I should trust him, but there was a pull, not curiosity, recognition. Like some part of me remembered this place. Behind me, the moving darkness reached the curve of the tunnel wall. A single arm emerged, longer than a man's body, jointed wrong, each finger bending twice before ending in nails like black glass. It scraped along the wall, peeling away chunks of the breathing stone. Thump. The elevator shifted under its weight, cables straining. The man's hand never wavered. Step in, or you'll end up with it instead. I took a half step. The air between us grew colder, and just before my fingers touched his, the faces on the walls began screaming. Not words, not warning, just one long, wailing sound that shook the tunnel. The elevator light dimmed. The man's smile faltered. Something in his eyes flickered, anger, fear, and for a split second, I saw what was under his skin. Not bone, not blood, something shifting and boiling, as if his body was a mask holding back a storm. And then, the darkness behind me hit the floor. A sound like splitting wood and shattering glass ripped through the air. The tunnel buckled under the weight of whatever had entered. The man wearing my face grabbed my wrist. No more time, decide.
The man's grip was ice. Not just cold, hollow, like holding the absence of heat. Before I could speak, the black arm from the tunnel lunged, fingers snapping shut where my head had been a second earlier. The force sent dust raining from the ceiling.
A smell, metallic, like rust and blood, flooded the air. The man yanked me forward. I stumbled across the elevator threshold, nearly falling into the wall of open, skeletal hands. As soon as my foot hit the metal floor, clang! The doors slammed shut with a violence that made the whole box shake. The cables screamed. The elevator jerked and plunged downward. I was thrown against the far wall. The hands reached for me, some brushing my skin, others hovering as though waiting for permission. Their touch was cold, but strangely steadying. The man let go of my wrist and leaned back casually, as though we weren't falling at impossible speed. "Good," he said. "You've just saved yourself from an ending you wouldn't have understood." I stared at him. "You dragged me in here. I didn't choose this." "You stepped forward," he replied. "That's enough." The elevator kept falling. The numbers on the display spun faster and faster, no longer in any logical order. 32, -4, 117, -91. The man noticed my eyes on the numbers and smiled. "There is no bottom. There is only where they decide to let us off." I didn't like how he said "they." Suddenly, the walls began to change. The metal rippled like water. Shapes pressed outward from within. Faces, limbs, Karen's visor. My breath caught. Karen's head turned within the wall, her expression twisting with both fury and fear. "Don't trust him," she mouthed, though no sound came through. The man's expression hardened. She always was too nosy for her own good. A tremor passed through the elevator. The hands on the wall suddenly clenched, pinning me in place. I tried to pull free, but their grip was iron. The man stepped closer, voice low. "You're going to see something no one's seen in decades, and when you do, you'll understand why Karen tried to keep you out." The lights cut out. Total darkness. Only the sound of the cables and the faint whispering of the hands around me. Then, a single chime. Ding! The elevator stopped. When the doors opened, it wasn't to a floor. It was to a street. But not my street, not any street I knew. The sky was red and boiling, the buildings leaning at impossible angles, and the pavement rippled like liquid. In the center of the street, under a flickering street lamp, stood Karen. She was holding something, a long, rusted key, and she was smiling. Karen's smile was wrong. It wasn't the smug, petty HOA Karen expression I'd grown used to. It was calm, almost relieved. The man beside me didn't move, but his jaw tightened. "She shouldn't be here," he muttered. Karen held the rusted key high, letting the dim street lamp catch it. "It still works," she said, "after all these years." The pavement under her feet breathed. Every few seconds, it rose and fell like the chest of something sleeping just beneath the surface. I stepped forward before I could stop myself, the skeletal hands behind me retreating into the elevator walls. The heat from the red sky made the air thick. "What is this place?" I asked. Karen's eyes met mine. "This is where the elevator takes you when it likes you." The man scoffed. "It doesn't like anyone. It tolerates them. Big difference." Karen ignored him and walked toward me slowly. Her visor was gone. In its place, she wore a faint smear of ash across her forehead. She pressed the key into my palm. It was cold. "You'll need this soon," she said. "Not for a door, for yourself." The man took a step forward, his voice sharp. "You give that to her, and she's marked. You know what that means." Karen shot him a glare that could cut glass. "She's already marked. You made sure of that." The pavement shivered beneath us, the ripples growing faster. The street lamp flickered in time with the tremors. Far down the road, shadows began to gather, shapes too tall, too thin, moving with a jerking, insect-like gait. Karen grabbed my arm. "You can't stay here, not yet." The man shook his head. "She can't go back without finishing it. The elevator won't allow it." Karen's grip tightened. "You think the elevator's the one in control? You really don't know what's under it." The street lamp's light suddenly stretched, the shadows at the end of the road sprinting toward us. Every step they took made a sound like snapping bones. Karen shoved me toward the elevator. "Get in. Keep the key. Don't let him take it." I stumbled backward, clutching the key so hard its edges bit into my skin. The man was already in the elevator, his eyes locked on Karen, his voice low but venomous. "You just doomed her." The doors slammed shut before I could say a word. The last thing I saw was Karen, still smiling, still standing in that breathing street as the shadows reached her. Then the elevator dropped again. The sensation wasn't like a normal elevator descent. This was free fall, complete stomach in your throat weightlessness, yet somehow slower. The floor beneath my feet dissolved into a glassy surface. Below it, I saw streets, buildings, oceans, and then something far older. Vast black plains, cracked like dry skin, stretching into an infinite horizon. The man stood perfectly still beside me, watching the visions pass beneath us. His voice was almost reverent. "You're seeing before there was a city, before there were people. This is where the first shaft was cut." I glanced at him. "The first elevator?" He shook his head slowly. "The first path. The elevator came later, an imitation of something that was already here." The walls rippled, distorting into blurred shapes that solidified into rooms, not human rooms. They were vast chambers made of bone-like material, with staircases too steep and narrow for any person. Something moved in those halls, but the moment I tried to focus, the image shifted. Suddenly, the glass floor beneath me shattered, not physically, but like breaking the surface of water, and I was standing ankle-deep in cold fog. The drop had stopped. We were no longer inside the elevator. The walls around us looked like roots, curling upward into darkness. From somewhere far above came a slow, Rilric pounding. The man stepped forward, listening. "It's awake," he murmured. I clutched the key in my fist. "What's awake?" He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to face me fully for the first time, his eyes black in the dim light. "You need to decide something now. This drop can take you to two places, the floor Karen wants or the one I want. Only one of us is telling you the truth about which leads out." A deep groan rolled through the roots around us like the earth itself was shifting in its sleep. Before I could speak, the fog parted, revealing two elevators ahead. One looked like the same old steel box I'd first stepped into. The other was wooden, carved with the same shifting symbols as the key. The man gestured to the steel one. "That will take you back to where you started. No tricks, no debt." A whisper, Karen's voice, slid through the fog from the wooden one. "Keys don't open doors. They open people. Come find me." I stood frozen, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The root walls around us began closing in. If I didn't choose soon, I'd be crushed here in the fog forever. The man's hand hovered near mine, ready to snatch the key if I hesitated. Karen's whisper grew more urgent. And then the pounding above us stopped. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. It felt like whatever was up there was now listening.
I gripped the key so tightly, its jagged teeth dug into my palm. The fog swirled between the two elevators, each one pulsing faintly, as if they were alive. The man's voice was steady, deliberate. Steel or wood? Decide. Karen's whisper floated through the damp air again, curling around my ear. You've already been to Steel. Why go back? Come see what they built for me. The root walls crept closer. Moisture dripped from above, landing on my shoulders in icy drops. It wasn't water. It smelled like rust. The man stepped closer to the steel elevator, keeping his eyes locked on mine. Go back, and you'll wake up in your apartment. You'll remember all of this, but it won't follow you. You'll have your life. Then, in a softer tone, if you choose hers, there's no turning back. You'll end up where she belongs. I turned to the wooden elevator. Its carvings shifted again, just like they had in my dreams, patterns rearranging themselves into something almost recognizable. Faces, screaming faces, mouths open wide, carved so deeply the wood looked burned. From the darkness inside it, I heard faint movement, like breathing. The pounding from above began again, faster this time. The roots trembled, sending fine dirt raining down around us. The man took a step forward, hand outstretched. Give me the key and I'll make the choice for you. You won't have to know what you passed up. Karen's whisper grew into a low laugh, then spoke directly in front of me, though she was nowhere in sight. Do you think he's telling you the truth? The steel door is the lie. You've already been there. It's a cage. The fog was pressing against my chest now. I was running out of air. My fingers twitched. The key was ice cold until I turned toward the wooden elevator. Then, in an instant, it grew warm, almost comforting. I glanced back at the man. His expression had hardened. He knew I'd felt it. The pounding stopped again. The silence felt heavier than the noise. I stepped forward, and the ground beneath me split. The fog dropped away into a bottomless pit, and I barely caught myself on the edge. Both elevators remained suspended in the air over the void, connected only by thin strands of root. The man lunged, grabbing my wrist. Choose now. Karen's voice, closer than ever, slid into my ear. Trust me. I drew in one final breath and reached out. The key turned in my hand with a click that didn't sound mechanical at all. It was organic, wet, almost like cartilage shifting in a socket. The wooden elevator's doors didn't slide open, they peeled apart. From inside came a gust of air, hot and damp, smelling faintly of soil and rot, and something metallic beneath it, like old blood. The shadows inside writhed, not from movement, but from the fact that there was no single light source. Everything glowed faintly red, as though the walls themselves were alive. The man's grip tightened on my arm. You don't understand. But his voice cut off mid-sentence. A root shot out from the darkness inside the wooden elevator, wrapping around his throat in a single fluid motion. His eyes went wide as it yanked him backward into the fog, his scream cut short by a sickening crunch. The roots retreated just as quickly,
leaving nothing but drifting mist where he'd stood. Karen appeared in the doorway, though I hadn't seen her approach. Her face was half in shadow, the other half lit by that strange red glow. Her smile was calm, almost warm, but her eyes, they didn't blink. "Welcome," she said, stepping aside to let me enter. "You're late." The moment my foot touched the floor inside, I realized it wasn't wood. It was something that flecked slightly beneath my weight, like thick hide stretched over bone. The doors sealed behind me without a sound. The elevator began to move, not down, not up, but sideways. The numbers above the door flickered erratically. G14, B3, 2, -6, 19, infinity. Karen leaned against the wall, watching me. "You've been tricked before," she murmured. "This time, you'll see where it really goes." The walls began to shift as we moved. The carved faces I'd seen earlier started to move, not just change position like before, but actually move. Their mouths open wide, their eyes darted toward me, some whispering words I couldn't make out. Karen tilted her head, listening. "They're telling you to leave. They always do. Don't listen to them." A low vibration started under my feet, building into a deep rumble. I reached for the panel of buttons, but there were no buttons anymore, only a smooth, warm surface with faint pulses running through it, as if it were breathing. Karen stepped closer. "Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's why they keep sending you back up before you reach it." The vibration stopped, the elevator jolted, and then, with a slow, grinding sound, the doors opened. Not onto a hallway, not onto a floor, but into a massive, cavernous chamber, walls covered in writhing roots, each one embedded with hundreds of those same screaming faces, their mouths moving in unison to form a single, continuous moan. Far in the distance, something enormous moved. Its shape was impossible to fully see in the dim red glow, but the roots all connected to it, feeding it. Karen smiled. This is where the building ends and where it begins. The sound wasn't quite a roar, wasn't quite a breath. It was both, layered together in a way that vibrated the air so hard I felt it in my bones. The roots shifted across the chamber's floor, slithering like snakes in slow motion. Some were as thin as vines, others as thick as subway tunnels. Every single one led back to it. My eyes adjusted just enough to catch its outline. It wasn't a creature in the way we think of creatures. It was a sprawling, pulsating mass of tissue, like muscle without skin, glistening with a sheen of slime, expanding and contracting as though breathing. Every time it inhaled, the faces embedded in the walls went silent. Every time it exhaled, they screamed. And between those screams, I swear I heard my own voice echoing back at me from somewhere deep inside its core. Karen walked to the very edge of the platform. She didn't stumble, didn't hesitate. "You've seen lobbies," she said softly. "You've seen floors. But what you haven't seen is the foundation." She turned and looked straight at me, her pupils reflecting that sick red glow. "This is the thing that keeps the building standing, and the thing that makes sure you can never really leave." Something moved in the mass, a massive shift, like muscles flexing. I realized the thing wasn't just anchored to the roots, it was the roots. Its tendrils were threaded through every inch of the structure, feeding on the people who disappeared here. And it was still hungry. From somewhere deep within, a massive, wet, cracking sound echoed. Something was being pushed forward, moving up through the roots like prey in a snake's body. Karen leaned close to me, whispering, "It's bringing you a gift." A moment later, the elevator I'd taken earlier, one of the normal ones, slid out of the roots on the far side of the chamber. Its doors opened, and the man who'd been dragged away earlier stepped out. Except his face wasn't his anymore. It was stretched, reshaped, parts of it replaced with those same wall faces, whispering in unison. His eyes flicked toward me, and all of them, all the mouths spoke the same sentence. "It's your turn." Karen didn't move as the thing wearing his skin began walking toward me. Her smile only grew sharper. And in that moment, I understood. The elevator hadn't been taking me to a floor. It had been delivering me down here, bit by bit, letting the building decide when I was ready to be consumed. The roots began shifting toward me. Karen stepped back into the elevator, the doors staying open just enough for her voice to echo back.
"You can leave with me, or you can stay here forever. Choose." The roots crept forward in slow, deliberate movements, not lunging, not attacking, but hurting me. Every slithering inch closer was like a reminder that my choice wasn't really a choice at all. Karen stood in the elevator, hands clasped behind her back like a schoolteacher watching a student struggle with an obvious question. "You think upstairs is safe?" I finally asked. My voice cracked, and it disgusted me. I wanted to sound defiant. Instead, I sounded like prey. Karen tilted her head, the fluorescent light from the elevator casting half her face in shadow. "Safe?" she repeated, almost laughing. "Oh no, sweetheart. Upstairs is hungry too. But at least up there, you have walls." She glanced past me, toward the glistening mass. "Here, there are no walls, no edges, just it." I turned back toward the thing. Its breathing grew faster, shallower. The faces embedded in the walls began to weep without sound, their eyes rolling wildly, as if watching me from every direction. Something inside it twitched, a ripple of muscle moving in a wave toward me. The ground beneath my feet bulged like a bubble under wallpaper, and then split open just enough for a warm, sour-smelling mist to hiss out. I stumbled back toward the elevator instinctively. Karen smiled, but didn't step aside. "You want to leave? Say it." "What?" "Say you want to leave, out loud, to me, or the building won't let you." I glanced behind me again. The roots were rising now, forming rib-like arches over the chamber floor. And through those arches, I saw it, an opening inside the creature's mass. Not a mouth, not really, more like a wound that pulsed open and closed in time with its breathing. Inside that opening was movement, shapes. I squinted and realized they were people. Not dead, worse. They were half absorbed, their torsos fused with the inner walls, legs twitching weakly, mouths open in silent screams. Some of them looked fresh. One of them looked exactly like me. I backed into the elevator. Karen didn't move. She just stared, waiting for my answer. I want to leave," I said. It felt wrong saying it, like the words didn't belong to me. Karen's smile deepened, as if I'd just signed a contract. "Good," she whispered. "Now, hold still." The elevator doors began to close, but before they sealed shut, a single root darted forward like a striking snake and wrapped around my ankle. The doors slammed shut against it, sparks flying, and the root shuddered violently before retreating with a screeching, wet sound. The elevator lurched upward.
Karen leaned against a wall, perfectly calm as if nothing had happened. But the lights inside the car flickered in time with the pounding I could still hear below. "You made the right choice," she said. Then she leaned in, her voice barely a whisper. "But you're not safe yet. You just moved to a different stomach." The elevator ride felt wrong from the first second, not just because Karen's words were still rattling in my skull, but because the car wasn't moving like it should. It wasn't smooth. Instead, it felt like the walls around us were tightening and loosening, like we were being swallowed. The numbers on the display didn't help. They weren't even real floors anymore. 19, 77, 0, B13, infinity. And then, instead of a ding, we heard breathing. A deep, wet exhale from above the elevator. The doors opened. I expected an upper floor hallway, maybe dim lights, maybe some signs of normalcy. Instead, the space in front of me was alive. The walls pulsed faintly, veins glowing under a thin membrane-like skin. The floor was warm, spongy, and when I stepped out, it sank slightly beneath my weight. In the distance, the corridor didn't end. It curved upward, like we were inside the throat of something impossibly huge. Karen stepped up behind me, completely unfazed. Her shoes didn't even sink into the flesh floor. I realized with horror, the building wasn't just infested, it was the thing. And we were somewhere between its heartbeat and its brain. From the far end of the corridor, I heard voices. Not human conversation, more like hundreds of overlapping whispers in different tones, each one calling my name in a slightly different way. Some gentle, some mocking, some furious. Karen tilted her head toward the sound. "They already know you're here. You should walk faster." I followed her, not because I trusted her, but because stopping felt like asking to be eaten. As we moved, I noticed the walls were changing. Faces pressed outward from beneath the membrane, their eyes darting wildly. Some mouthed silent words, others just grinned. One of them looked like the man from the lobby security desk, only now his lips were sewn shut by thin strands of vein. Halfway down the corridor, the floor shuddered. A low rumble came from below, and the walls on either side opened, not like doors, more like wounds tearing themselves wider. From each gap, a figure stepped out. They weren't people. They were shells of people, skin gray and paper-thin, joints bending too far the wrong way. Their heads twitched in jerks, and their eyes, black, lidless, locked on me instantly. Karen didn't even slow down. "They're cleaners," she said casually. "They'll strip you down to your bones if you stop moving, and they won't start with your skin." I wanted to ask her 1,000 questions. What was this place? How was she so comfortable here? Why hadn't she been attacked? But before I could speak, the floor lurched upward, as if the entire corridor had taken a breath. The cleaners broke into a sprint, and I realized this wasn't a hallway. It was a feeding tube. The corridor convulsed like a muscle spasm. The cleaners came at us in that grotesque jerking sprint, their bony feet slapping against the spongy floor. I ran. Karen didn't run so much as glide, her stride measured, graceful, like the thing wouldn't dare swallow her. Every time I glanced back, the cleaners were closer. Their mouths opened impossibly wide, peeling at the corners, revealing not teeth, but small, quivering hands inside their throats. Those hands reached out, clawing at the air as they closed in. We rounded a curve, and the air changed. It smelled electric, like a storm about to break. The fleshy walls shifted from that vein-laced membrane to something more complex, a lattice of glowing strands pulsing with light. They twisted together like an organic web of fibers, and through them, I could see shadows moving inside. Karen didn't slow. She approached what looked like a wall of living cables and pressed her palm against it. It opened for her. Beyond it lay the nerve center. It was massive, a cathedral of pulsating lights, threads, and transparent tunnels through which strange fluids flowed. The ceiling arched so high I couldn't see where it ended, and suspended in the middle, like a spider in its web, was something I couldn't fully look at without my stomach turning. Its form shifted constantly, sometimes a human face, sometimes an animal skull, sometimes something so alien my mind recoiled before I could comprehend it. Karen's voice was calm, but it carried weight. This is where it all happens. The building, the elevators, the cleaners, every decision it makes starts here. I swallowed hard, still catching my breath. What is it? Karen looked at me for the first time since we'd stepped out of the elevator. It's not what, she said. It's who. I didn't understand. She stepped closer to the floating thing, and the glowing threads around us seemed to respond to her, tightening, brightening, reaching for her. "Do you know why you were brought here?" she asked, without turning around. I shook my head, but the answer didn't matter. The thing in the center suddenly shifted its attention toward me. Every glowing strand in the room flared in unison. Karen continued, "You're not prey, Alex. You're a replacement." A wet, tearing sound filled the air. From the center mass, a new thread began unspooling, thicker, darker than the rest, and it slithered toward me like a serpent. Behind me, the cleaners entered the nerve center. They didn't attack.
They simply stood in a perfect ring, heads twitching in unison, watching. The thread reached my feet, warm, pulsing, alive. And when it wrapped around my ankle, I realized with horror, it wasn't going to kill me. It was going to connect me. The thread tightened around my ankle, its pulse syncing with my heartbeat so perfectly, I felt dizzy, like it was rewriting me from the feet up. Karen didn't move to stop it. Instead, she turned fully toward me for the first time in hours. The look in her eyes wasn't pity. It wasn't cruelty either. It was inevitability. "Do you think," she asked softly, "that I've been trapped here all this time?" I opened my mouth to answer, but the thread climbed higher, wrapping my calf, my thigh, and every inch it touched became numb, then warm, then not mine anymore. Karen stepped closer. Her voice was lower now, and the sound of it carried through the glowing strands as if the whole room was listening. "I'm not a prisoner," she asked. "I'm the bridge. I make sure it only chooses the right ones." She tilted her head toward the floating mass in the center. "You call it a building," she continued, "but it's older than any of these walls, older than cities. It moves from shell to shell, feeding, expanding, adapting. It's a mind, Alex, and it doesn't let anyone leave unless they serve a purpose." The thread had reached my ribs now. My breath came in shallow bursts, and I realized with mounting dread that every inhale matched the slow, steady rhythm of the central mass's glow. I was breathing with it. Karen's tone sharpened. "You feel it, don't you? How it's learning you, your memories, your fears, your thresholds. Once it knows enough, you'll be it, part of the network." I shook my head violently, trying to wrench free. She didn't flinch. In fact, she almost looked proud.
"I fought it at first," she said. "But when you stop fighting, you see things. You understand how small the world outside really is. Why go back to that when you can be everything?" The floating mass pulsed brighter. Karen's pupils dilated, and I saw something horrific. In the black centers of her eyes, tiny glowing threads writhing like worms. She reached out her hand. "Let go, Alex. It hurts less if you let it in." The cleaners moved closer, forming a tightening circle. The thread reached my neck, and in that moment, the warmth turned into something sharper, like it was slicing open my skin without breaking it, sliding inside my nerves. I heard 2 heartbeats now, mine and its. Karen whispered, almost tenderly, "The only way to survive here is to stop being you." The thread was at my jawline now, its soft hum reverberating in my teeth. Every muscle in my body screamed at me to give in, to let the warmth consume me completely. Karen's face was inches from mine. Her voice was velvet. "It's easier, Alex. Close your eyes. It'll be done." But that was the problem. I knew it would never be done, not in the way I wanted, because I could feel the hunger under all that warmth. A slow, patient hunger that didn't end when it fed. It expanded. I looked past Karen to the central mass. Its glow wasn't steady anymore. It was following my thoughts, matching every spike of panic with a brighter, sharper light. That's when it hit me. If this thing was alive, then maybe it could feel pain. In my back pocket, I still had the small maintenance scanner I'd swiped from the janitor's cart earlier. Old tech, battery barely holding on, but it had one feature the others didn't, a pulse disruptor, meant to fry faulty wiring. I'd seen what it did to a blown-out elevator circuit. If the veins in this place were even partly electric, the thread tightened around my throat. I was seconds from losing air. Karen tilted her head like she could read my thoughts. "You'll regret that." I flicked the disruptor on. Its faint blue light sparked weakly, but the hum in the room stuttered. The central mass recoiled, its glow flickering violently. Every cleaner in the room shrieked in unison, a high, metallic wail that pierced straight into my skull. The thread around my neck loosened just enough. I ripped it free, slammed the disruptor against the vein in the floor, and hit the trigger. The effect was instant. The walls convulsed like they were alive. Pipes burst, spraying black fluid. The floor shifted under my feet, not like something collapsing, but like something rolling over in its sleep. Karen screamed, not in fear, but in fury. "You idiot! You've wakened it up!" The cleaners broke formation, skittering toward the walls and ceilings. Above us, the hallway lights began cycling through every floor number at once, blurring into an unreadable mess. The central mass was thrashing now, veins snapping like overstretched cables. The glow was gone, replaced with a deep, burning red. Karen grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. "You think you can outrun this? You don't leave the building, Alex. You're in its lungs now." I tore away from her, stumbling toward the only opening left, a service hatch that had split open when the wall shifted. The air rushing out of it was freezing cold and smelled like the ocean. Behind me, the cleaners were reforming into something new, a towering shape with too many limbs. Karen's voice rose above the chaos. "Go ahead, run. It'll only take you deeper." I tore away from her, stumbling toward the only opening left, a service hatch that had split open when the walls shifted. The air rushing out of it was freezing cold and smelled like the ocean. Behind me, the cleaners were reforming into something new, a single towering shape with too many limbs. Karen's voice rose above the chaos. "Go ahead, run. It'll only take you deeper."
The hatch yawned before me, its jagged edges twitching like the torn mouth of something still breathing.
frost clung to the rim, and a thin mist spilled outward, curling around my shoes like fingers. Every instinct said, "Don't go in," but every other direction was closing fast. That towering, many-limbed cleaner was already filling the hall, its footsteps pounding like drums through the floor. I dropped into the hatch. The cold hit me instantly, searing my lungs as I slid down a narrow metal chute. It wasn't just temperature, it was pressure, like the air itself was heavier here. The chute spat me out into a cavernous chamber. At first, I thought it was water, a vast black lake stretching in all directions. But the ripples moved upward instead of outward, as though the surface was upside down. Above, or was it below, that impossible lake, bridges of slick, corroded steel crisscrossed like a spider's web. Each one vibrated faintly, sending pulses through the air. And with every pulse, the red veins from above twitched in response. It wasn't just a room, it was a heart. I was standing in the organ that powered the building's body. Somewhere across the chamber, a set of elevator doors stood alone. No walls, no shaft, just the doors. They opened and closed slowly, even though there was nothing inside. Between me and them, the bridges groaned under invisible weight. Shadows scurried just beyond my vision, too fast to track. The hiss of the hatch behind me told me I wasn't alone. Karen dropped in, landing like a cat, her breath not even clouding in the cold. "You think you found the way out?" she asked, smiling through the mist. "Those doors don't lead up. They don't lead anywhere human." Her eyes flicked to the lake. It's awake now, and it's listening. The surface of the black lake began to distort, not with ripples, but with faces. Pale, stretched, half-formed faces pressing upward against the membrane of liquid. Mouths opened in silent screams. Some I almost recognized. Neighbors, delivery drivers, faces I'd seen in the building once and never again. Karen walked to the edge, knelt, and pressed her palm flat to the surface. The faces surged toward her touch, their mouths moving in unison. "They're asking for you," she said softly. "You've been chosen." The bridges shifted. One now extended directly toward me, its metal rungs rearranging themselves like vertebrae. Somewhere deep below, a slow, steady thud began, a heartbeat that shook the entire chamber. Karen's voice became almost gentle. "Step onto it, Alex, and you can finally stop running." The bridge pulsed beneath my feet before I even stepped on it, like it was tasting the air between us. Its slick, bone-white rungs bent ever so slightly, each one glistening as if freshly stripped of flesh. Karen stood motionless, watching me the way a parent might watch a toddler teeter toward a staircase, concern mixed with expectation. She didn't blink, her smile didn't waver. The heartbeat from below grew louder, not just louder, closer. With every pulse, the bridge shifted forward a fraction, extending itself toward the freestanding elevator doors on the far side of the chamber. I glanced at the lake. The faces were no longer silent. Now their mouths moved in ragged unison, producing a wet, sloshing whisper that crawled into my ears. Step in. The choice felt physical. Step onto the bridge, and something deep inside me screamed that I'd never set foot on solid ground again. Dive into the lake, and I'd be swallowed into an eternity of cold, joining the faces in their upside-down prison. Karen tilted her head, her voice syrup smooth. "Either way, Alex, "You won't be alone anymore." I forced a laugh. It came out brittle. Is that supposed to be comforting? Her smile widened, showing just a little too many teeth. It's supposed to be true. The bridge shuddered impatiently beneath me, the gaps between its rungs widening like hungry jaws. I could feel the cold metal through my shoes, and under it, a faint pulse that wasn't mine. The elevator doors at the far end hissed open. Beyond them wasn't a room, wasn't even light. It was moving darkness, a swirling void with the faint impression of limbs. From the lake, a single face rose higher than the others, its pale skin stretched to the point of tearing, its eyes bulging with desperate recognition. My stomach flipped. It was my face. The double heartbeat became deafening. One was mine, the other was the building's. Karen's voice dropped to a whisper, but the words still seemed to bloom directly in my head. Choose quickly. It doesn't like to be kept waiting. The bridge exhaled. Not wind, but something damp and warm, like the breath of a sleeping animal. My leg moved before my mind caught up. One step forward. Not mine. Something inside me had pulled it. Karen's smile brightened, but her eyes flickered with something sharper, expectation and fear. The first rung flexed under my weight. It groaned, not creaked, not cracked, groaned, like it remembered the last thing to stand there. Beneath the bridge, the lake of faces churned. They rose and fell in frantic patterns, like they knew what was about to happen and couldn't agree whether to warn me or welcome me. The elevator's open doorway on the far side widened, its frame stretching unnaturally, as if it wanted to swallow more. Inside, the swirling darkness began to resolve. Arms, legs, spines that bent the wrong way, faces pressed flat against an invisible surface, mouths gaping in perfect silence. And behind them, two massive yellow eyes, blinking, slow. "Don't look at it," Karen murmured, but her voice was tight, like she'd just realized she'd broken her own rule by speaking. Of course, now I couldn't not look. When the eyes blinked again, I felt the memory of being crushed between them. My ribs hurt. I hadn't moved. The second rung of the bridge split slightly as my other foot landed. From the crack oozed something thick, red, and warm. I froze. Karen didn't. She took one step forward, her shoes making no sound against the bridge, her shadow stretching unnaturally long until it touched my feet. "I told you, Alex," she said softly, "you wouldn't be alone anymore." Then she leaned close enough for her lips to brush my ear. "And once you see it, it sees you." The yellow eyes in the darkness widened, and in that instant, the heartbeat that wasn't mine skipped. The bridge lurched. I stumbled forward. Somewhere behind me, the lake of faces screamed. Only this time, I screamed with them.
The bridge heaved like the spine of some massive beast turning under my feet. It wasn't supposed to move, at least not toward the elevator. But now it was, and yet the lake below churned violently, its surface breaking as dozens, no hundreds, of pale hands reached upward, clawing at the air like drowning swimmers. Except they weren't drowning, they were pulling me. Something invisible hooked into my chest, a sudden wrench that nearly tore me backward over the railing. I gasped, feeling my heels lift as the bridge tried to tip me toward the elevator's gaping darkness. But the force from below yanked the opposite way, harder, until my spine felt like it might split in half. It wasn't a rescue, it was a fight.
two predators, and I was the meat between their teeth. Karen didn't move. She just watched. Her smile was gone now, replaced by a strange, glassy focus, as if she were listening to two different voices at once inside her head. "They both want you," she murmured. "The only question is, which one gets tired first?" The elevator made a sound, a low, drawn-out growl that vibrated through the bridge's frame. I could feel it in my jaw, my ribs, like my bones were tuning forks. From the lake, the faces screamed louder, the pitch rising into something sharp enough to cut air. The hands reached higher. Some of them were close enough to brush my shoes. Their touch was cold, but not dead. It felt like water that had learned to grip. The pull from both sides grew unbearable. My feet slipped against the slick planks. The crack in the second rung widened, bleeding more of that warm, red liquid. And now it smelled unmistakably like blood. Karen finally stepped forward, her shadow swallowing mine. "You could make it stop," she whispered, "if you just choose." I tried to speak, but the moment my lips parted, a third force hit me. It wasn't pulling forward or back, it was pulling down. The lake stilled. The elevator went silent. Even Karen froze. And in the dark space between the bridge and the water, something moved. Not up, not toward, but around. It was circling. The next heartbeat didn't belong to me. The next breath didn't either. And for the first time since I'd stepped onto that bridge, Karen looked afraid. The air beneath the bridge swelled, as if some massive lung had just taken its first breath in centuries. It wasn't a sound you hear, it was a sound you feel. Every cell in my body seemed to shiver at once, like it recognized this thing before my mind even tried to understand it. The pale hands in the lake froze mid-reach. The elevator cables stopped trembling. Both forces, those tearing me in opposite directions, vanished in a single heartbeat. Karen stepped back. Her heels hit the boards with an unsteady thud. She never took her eyes off the darkness under the bridge, but I noticed her lips moving, not speaking to me, not speaking to herself, repeating a phrase over and over, too low for me to catch. Then I saw it, not clearly, not fully, but enough to know it wasn't human. At first, it looked like an enormous, rippling shadow. Then the surface of it caught some of the dim light, not like skin, but like something slick, almost wet, yet breathing. It coiled. The movement was slow, almost lazy, until it snapped upward. I stumbled backward, but there was nowhere to go. One end of the bridge led to the blood-leaking elevator. The other ended up the cliff, where the dirt seemed too soft to hold. The thing didn't lunge for me. It rose just enough for a face to surface, if you could call it a face. It didn't have eyes, but I knew it was looking at me. The absence of features was worse than any monstrous grin. Just a smooth, pale expanse marked only by a single slit in the center. A slit that began to open. The sound that came out wasn't a roar, or a growl, or a scream. It was all three, layered so thick it pressed against my chest like a physical weight. Karen dropped to her knees. Her voice rose, no longer whispering but chanting. The same phrase again and again, faster, more desperate. The thing's slit mouth formed words. They weren't in English, they weren't in any language I knew, but my brain understood. It said, "You are mine now." The bridge groaned. The planks warped inward, as if something was sucking them down toward the creature. Blood from the crack in the wood ran faster, spiraling toward that slit mouth like it was being drained. Karen finally looked up at me with wide, wet eyes. "This is the third choice," she said, her voice breaking. "You don't come back from this one." The thing didn't wait for me to decide. Its coiled body shifted again, and this time I saw what was below the surface of the lake, its tendrils disappearing deep into the black water, wrapping around the pale hands like shackles. It had been holding them prisoner all along. The boards beneath my feet gave one last shudder before splitting wide open. The sound wasn't wood breaking, it was tearing skin. The grain seemed to peel away like flesh, and the gap yawned wider, revealing nothing but swirling, bottomless black water below. Karen's hands clamped around my wrist. Her grip was stronger than I thought she was capable of, nails digging so deep I could feel skin breaking. Her eyes weren't on me anymore. They were locked on the creature. "Don't breathe when it takes you," she whispered, her voice trembling in a way that felt less like fear and more like reverence. The slit mouth widened, its tendrils flexed, and the bridge buckled as though the wood itself wanted to sink. One of the pale hands from the water shot up, faster this time, latching onto my ankle. It was ice cold, but not dead. It pulsed faintly, like there was still blood pumping through it. Karen didn't try to pull me free. She pushed me. The last thing I saw above the water was her standing perfectly still as the bridge twisted and folded around her like it was swallowing itself. The plunge was instant. The shock of the water ripped the breath from my lungs. Everything around me was thick and dark, not like lake water, more like swimming through ink. I couldn't tell which way was up. The pale hand was still on my ankle, pulling me deeper, but now I could feel more of them, dozens, wrapping my arms, my neck, each one pulsing in rhythm with something massive nearby. And then the creature appeared in full. Its body was far larger than I imagined. The coils I'd seen earlier weren't coils at all. They were massive spines jutting from a circular form, rotating slowly as if it were turning an endless wheel. The slit mouth hovered before me, still moving in that strange, impossible language, but I didn't need to hear the words. They were inside my head. "This is where the missing go." Behind it, I saw them, the rest of the pale forms, not just hands now, faces, bodies, hundreds of them. They floated upright, their eyes closed, their skin faintly glowing in the dark water. Every so often, one would twitch, as if remembering something, and the creature's tendrils would pull it back into stillness. The hands holding me tightened, the creature's mouth slit widened again, and I realized it wasn't just speaking, it was inhaling. Something warm began to leave me, not air, not blood, something deeper. Memories, flashes of my life blinked away like burned film, faces I knew, places I'd been, the sound of my own name. But before the last of it faded, another shape moved in the dark. Karen, her hair floated like a shadow around her face. Her eyes were wide open, but the whites had turned black. She moved easily through the water, as if it obeyed her. She reached for my throat, her nails glowing faintly. "Don't fight it," she mouthed, though her voice was somehow clear in my head. "It's the only way out."
Karen's fingers didn't just grab my throat. They squeezed, forcing my body still, even though my mind screamed at me to thrash, to break free. The creature's slit mouth was impossibly wide now, gaping like a doorway made of muscle and shadow. From within, a faint red glow pulsed, beating like a heart. The hands gripping my body loosened, but not to let me go. They began guiding me, passing me between them like a corpse carried by mourners. Every face I drifted past was pale and vacant, but their lips moved in perfect sync. "Go inside, go inside, go inside."
Karen's face stayed close to mine as she swam beside me. Her blackened eyes reflected the faint crimson light. "You have to let it take you whole," she whispered into my mind. "No air, no fight. If you struggle, you'll end up like them." She glanced toward the rows of floating, lifeless bodies, and I understood. This wasn't death. It was something worse. The mouth drew nearer. Its edges rippled like thick tar, and the red light inside flickered as if it were calling me by name. When I crossed the threshold, I expected teeth. Instead, I fell. The water vanished instantly. I hit a soft, spongy surface that flexed under my weight. The air was damp and warm, filled with the stench of rot and iron. I wasn't in the creature's stomach. I was in a room. Its walls were made of living tissue, veins running like rivers along the surface, pumping thick, dark fluid. Shapes pressed against the membrane from the other side, human shapes. Their faces stretched the skin outward, mouths open in silent screams before sliding away again. Karen stepped in behind me, but she wasn't dripping wet anymore. She was dry. Her clothes had changed. Long black dress, hands covered in crimson gloves. "This is the spine hall," she said. "Every person it takes ends up here first. Some stay forever. Some," she smiled faintly, "make deals." A rumble shook the floor, and the red light brightened. From the far end of the hall, something massive began moving toward us. It wasn't the creature from outside. It was part of it. A tower of flesh and bone, its face nothing more than a pulsing red slit lined with finger-like tendrils. Karen stepped forward. "I'm offering this one," she said. Her voice was calm, but the walls themselves trembled at the sound. The slit face turned to me, and a wave of heat rolled through my body, not from the air, but from inside my skull. "You have been seen." And then 100 voices, all mine, all speaking at once. "Will you stay, or will you serve?" The words didn't echo in the air, they rattled through my bones. Every syllable felt like it had weight, like it was pushing on my ribs from the inside. Karen watched me without blinking. Her eyes weren't simply black anymore. There was something moving in them, like two tiny storms swirling in blasts. "You need to answer," she said quietly. "If you hesitate, it decides for you." The tower of flesh loomed closer, its tendrils twitching like the legs of a spider. The red slit on its face widened, and I saw that the light wasn't coming from some strange glow. It was fire, a smoldering pit burning without smoke. "Stay," Karen explained, "means you dissolve. It takes you into the walls. You'll be aware, but you'll never move again." Her voice lowered, almost gentle. "Serve means you leave, but not free. You work for it. Bring it more." The tendrils lifted and hovered inches from my face, their tips splitting into tiny finger-like branches that stroked my skin as if testing my texture. A single word roared through my head: "Choose." I wanted to scream at Karen, to demand how she could possibly be part of this, but the truth was already gnawing at me. She wasn't trapped here. She belonged here. "How long have you been doing this?" I managed. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Long enough to know the elevator is the easy part." I realized then, every time she stopped someone from leaving, she was feeding it. "Why me?" I asked. Karen tilted her head. "You took the elevator when you shouldn't have. That means you heard it calling." The tendrils began wrapping around my arms. I could feel my skin prickling where they touched. It wasn't pain, it was pulling, like it was tugging at something beneath the flesh. Karen stepped back. "It's time." The voices in my head split into two tones, one deep, one sharp, speaking the two words again. stay, serve. The walls pulsed, the faces inside straining forward, some mouthing stay, others serve. I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could speak, the floor dropped out from under me. The red light vanished. I was falling through darkness again. But this time, I wasn't alone. A cold hand was gripping mine in the dark, and Karen's voice whispered in my ear, "You chose wrong." The fall wasn't like gravity was pulling me. It was slower, thick, as if I were sinking through a liquid so black it swallowed the idea of light. Karen's hand was still gripping mine. I tried to pull away, but her fingers tightened until I could feel her nails digging in. "You should have said serve," she hissed. "Now you're mine, and it's hungry." The words echoed not in my ears, but in the space between thoughts. Every syllable sent a ripple through the dark around us, and I felt shapes moving, brushing against my legs, sliding under my feet. Somewhere far below, a red glow pulsed, slow and steady like the beat of a massive heart. With each thud, the blackness seemed to thicken, making it harder to breathe. "What is this place?" I gasped. Karen smiled faintly, her face lit from below by that faint heartbeat glow. "This," she said, "is the shaft beneath the building, where the ones who stay go to become." The shapes around us began to rise. They weren't quite human. Bodies stretched wrong, limbs too long, faces that were flat in some places, split open in others. Some looked at me without eyes. Their skin was smooth where the sockets should be. Others had mouths that never closed, whispering without pause. One of them drifted close enough for me to see its lips forming words. "Help me." But the voice that came out was mine. Karen leaned in. "They take from you your face, your voice, your place in the world." We kept sinking until the red glow became blinding. It wasn't a heart. It was a pit, a yawning chasm lined with something slick, pulsing and breathing. From its center, a tower of flesh rose, a taller, more terrible version of the thing from the hallway. This one had hundreds of tendrils, each one tipped with a human hand. It reached for me. Karen let go of my hand. "Goodbye," she said, and pushed me forward. The hands grabbed me, not gently, but with the practiced grip of something that had done this countless times before. The pit spoke in the voice of everyone I'd ever met. It said my name. It promised it could make me more. It promised I'd never be alone again. Somewhere above, the elevator doors slammed shut.
The moment the pit's hands pulled me in, I stopped feeling like I had a body. It was as if my skin had been peeled away, and my thoughts were floating loose, like dust motes caught in a dim beam of light. The hands didn't hurt, not at first. They simply held me still, turning me slowly as if inspecting a fragile artifact. I could hear voices all around, but they weren't speaking to me. They were speaking through me. Each word rattled inside my skull until I didn't know which thoughts were mine and which belonged to them. Yes, the shape fits. Not yet, still warm. We will keep the face for later. Beneath the murmurs, I heard something heavier, a deep, wet breathing that seemed to drag the air in and out of the entire shaft. And then, the flesh tower began to split open. It didn't tear. It unfolded like the petals of some grotesque flower. Inside was an enormous eye, its surface a whirlpool of blood and shadow. The gaze pinned me where I was, not my body, my mind. It pushed into my memories, pulling them out one by one, like books from a shelf. The time I was 5, hiding from a storm.
the smell of my mother's perfume, the sound of my own laughter on a summer night. One by one, those memories sank into the eye and vanished. "Stop!" I screamed, but my voice wasn't mine anymore. It was deeper, warped, as though something else had taken my throat. The pit chuckled. It was not the laugh of one creature. It was thousands, layered so tightly they became a single horrific note. Above me, Karen stood at the edge, looking down with that faint, satisfied smirk. "You're not the first," she called, "and you won't be the last. But you might last longer." She dropped something, a thin silver chain, and it landed around my neck. The hands loosened just enough for me to feel it. The instant the chain touched my skin, I could hear everything. Every voice in the pit, every whisper from the black hallway, even the scraping sound of the elevator cables far above. The chain wasn't a gift, it was a tether, and it meant I could never leave. The eye blinked, and when it opened again, I wasn't looking at it anymore. I was looking out from it. At first, everything was darkness, but it wasn't empty, it was alive. Tiny, shifting shapes swam through the black, like minnows darting in a midnight pond. When they brushed against me, I felt a shiver, a memory, a voice, a scream. These weren't creatures, they were souls. Thousands of them, circling like moths around a flame I couldn't see. Then, the darkness began to ripple. The ripples formed lines. The lines became walls, and suddenly, I wasn't in the pit anymore. I was in the elevator. But not my elevator. The metal was darker, stained in places that looked like burns. The control panel had far more buttons than it should, rows upon rows, each labeled with symbols I couldn't read. Karen stood inside, leaning casually against the wall. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the elevator doors, as if waiting for someone. When the doors slid open, a man stepped in. I recognized him instantly, the way he kept glancing at the floor, the nervous twitch in his jaw. He had the look of someone who believed the rules of the world still applied. Poor man. Karen's voice was soft this time. "Going down?" The man hesitated. "Lobby, please." She didn't press the button. The doors closed anyway. As the numbers above the door began to change, I realized something. From this vantage, I wasn't a passenger. I was the elevator itself. I could feel the vibration of the cables, the tension in the machinery. I could even hear the man's heartbeat thumping in the metal frame. And just beneath that heartbeat, I could feel my own, somewhere deep inside the walls. The man frowned as the numbers skipped. 6, 14, 2, 20. Karen smiled at him, the same way she'd smiled at me. "They're not ready for you down there yet." The man stepped back, confused, and that's when I realized the air in the elevator was thicker. Not metaphorically, literally. It pressed against him like water. He gasped. The numbers stopped at B7. The doors opened, and beyond them wasn't a basement floor. It was the same black hallway I had seen before, except this time I could hear the pit calling. It was calling through me. The man's head tilted, his eyes glassy, and he stepped forward as if sleepwalking. Karen followed, but not before glancing at the elevator walls, glancing at me. "You're doing so well," she whispered. "They'll be hungry again soon." The door shut, and the darkness folded back in around me. The black swallowed me again, but this time it didn't feel infinite. Somewhere in the dark, I felt a pulse that wasn't the pit's and wasn't mine. It was faint, steady, mechanical, like the hum of an old generator. I turned toward it, or maybe I just thought about turning, because the moment I focused on it, the darkness peeled back, and I saw something impossible. A door. Not the elevator doors, a regular wooden door. Its paint was peeling, its brass handle tarnished. Light leaked from the crack beneath it, soft and golden, like sunlight through leaves. The warmth hit me instantly, and it was so alien compared to the cold pit that it almost hurt. I reached for it. A voice stopped me. "You open that, and you will never be able to close it again." I turned. Karen stood behind me, her visor gone, her eyes sharper than I had ever seen them. "What's behind it?" I asked. "Not what you think," she said. "Every fool in here thinks that's an exit. It isn't." "Then what is it?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer, her presence bending the space between us. "You've been doing so well," she murmured. "Not like the others. The pit likes you. The elevator trusts you. But if you go through there," she tilted her head toward the wooden door, "the pit will see you as food." A flicker of movement caught my eye. The golden light beneath the door shifted, and I realized it wasn't light at all. It was breathing. Slow, steady, inhaling, exhaling. Something behind that door was alive, and it knew I was here. Karen stepped back, her smile thin. "Go on, if you're curious," she said. "I'll even let you, but don't expect me to save you." And then, for the first time, she vanished. No footsteps, no sound, just gone. I was alone with the door. The breathing quickened, and I had to decide whether to open it.
The handle was cold. Not the metallic cold of brass, but the deep, marrow-freezing cold of something that had been in shadow for far too long. The breathing on the other side was no longer slow and steady. It was excited, like it had been waiting for me. I turned the handle. It resisted, not in a locked way, but like whatever was behind it was holding the door closed and letting me work for it. With a final push, the wood groaned, splinters cracking at the frame, and the door swung open. The golden light poured over me, but it wasn't sunlight. It was the glow of a vast, impossible room, walls made of amber resin, each one filled with shapes. Human shapes, pressed inside, their mouths frozen mid-scream. They weren't just preserved, they were conscious. Their eyes tracked me as I stepped inside. The air was thick, sweet, and heavy. Every breath I took was like inhaling honey, warm, cloying, almost suffocating. And in the center of the room stood the thing that had been breathing. It was massive, a shape like a heart, but taller than a man, and pulsing with slow, deliberate beats. The amber walls seemed to respond to it, each pulse sending ripples through the imprisoned figures. Some of them twitched. Then I realized it wasn't just a heart. It was connected to everything. Amber tendrils stretched from its surface, worming into the walls, through the ceiling, and, I glanced down, into the floor beneath my feet.
and I understood. This heart was the pit. It spoke, not with a voice, but by vibrating the very air. You have been chosen. The words weren't sound. They were inside my skull, sliding like oil between my thoughts. You've been watching me, I said aloud. Watching, it replied. Testing, feeding. I glanced back toward the door, but it was gone. The amber around me began to shift, its golden hue deepening into a molten red. The prisoners in the walls pressed closer to the surface, their hands clawing, their eyes wild. Stay, the heart whispered, or join them. Somewhere far away, I thought I heard the sound of an elevator bell. Ding. It was faint, but it was real. And if I could hear it, maybe I could still reach it. But the amber floor beneath me was beginning to soften, pulling at my boots. I had to choose, stay in the breathing room with the pit's heart, or try to run before the floor swallowed me whole. Chapter 65, The Run. The amber clung to my boots like hot tar, pulling harder with every heartbeat. I bent down, yanking, and a thick strand snapped free with a wet pop. The elevator bell rang again, louder this time, clearer, a beacon in this suffocating honeyglow. Ding! I forced my legs forward, boots tearing away from the sticky floor, each step like running through molten glue. The amber walls shuddered, not from the heart now, but from something moving inside them. Shapes peeled themselves from the resin, oozing forward, faces stretching grotesquely as their bodies broke free. The first one fell to the ground with a wet slap. Its skin was translucent, its eyes milky white, and it crawled toward me without bending its knees. More followed. The air filled with the sound of skin dragging, nails scratching, and the hearts pulsing faster now. The elevator bell rang again. Ding. I could see it now, far across the room, a set of metal doors embedded in the amber wall. They didn't belong here. They looked like they belonged in my building. The creatures swarmed between me and the doors. Their mouths hung open, dripping amber saliva that hissed when it hit the floor. One lunged. I sidestepped, its clawed hand grazing my jacket and tearing a long, smoking rip through the fabric. The heart's voice thundered inside my skull. You cannot leave. I didn't answer. I didn't look back. I just ran, shoving past the creatures, kicking one in the face so hard its jaw unhinged completely, snapping with a brittle crack. Ding! The elevator doors slid open, just enough for me to see the dim light inside. I dove, slamming into the cold metal floor, rolling onto my back as the creatures shrieked behind me. The doors started to close. A pale, dripping hand shot through the gap. Amber oozed onto the floor, burning through it like acid. Without thinking, I stomped down hard, crushing its wrist. The thing let out a high, piercing sound, and the doors snapped shut. The elevator lurched. It wasn't moving smoothly. It jerked, groaned, and the light flickered like it might go out any second. I slumped against the wall, panting, but something was wrong. The air inside smelled sweet, too sweet, and in the corner, Karen was standing there. She smiled.
Going down to be continued. Come to the next part.
See you later, alligator.